Failure was a taste I knew well, bitter and constant. But the moment I stepped through the door that day, a living nightmare was waiting to greet me. A hostage crisis in my own living room. My family bound and gagged, used as bait to trap me. The bullies swung their bats with lethal intent, aiming to break me. But a single punch, just one strike, was enough to crush their bones and their spirits. The first attacker didn't stand a chance. His face caved in under the impact. The boss watched in pure terror, unable to comprehend how a mere high schooler could possess the strength of a monster. Collapsing to his knees, the desperate father begs for a single month of mercy. The shark sneers in response. Debts are absolute in his world. If cash isn't an option, a kidney or a cornea will do just fine. He digs his fingers into the debtor's shoulder, promising that a little pain is the best teacher. But suddenly, a flicker of movement catches his eye. The mother is reaching for her phone. His eyes narrow with suspicion. He demands to know if she is dialing the police, laughing that it would be a total waste of breath. It isn't the cops. The screen glows with a text from their son. Her desperate reply is halfway typed, "Don't come home." The boss doesn't hesitate. Why wait? He decides to settle the debt in blood, right here and now, with the couple's son. His goons rough up the parents as they plead for their child's safety. Bored by the noise, the leader barks an order to silence them permanently. As ropes tighten around the mother, the boss mocks them, claiming he doesn't want to spook the little boy when he arrives. From his vantage point, a lookout signals the arrival. Outside the gate, an unsuspecting student walks toward the front door. Panic rises inside. One thug clamps a hand over the mother's screaming mouth. A heartbeat later, the young man steps into the hallway, unknowingly walking into a den of wolves. He slides off his shoes, announcing, "I'm home," with a casual innocence that chills the air. Ambush, a henchman explodes from the shadows, swinging a baseball bat with lethal intent. The weapon connects with the back of the boy's head. A sickening crack echoes through the room. Bound and helpless, the mother watches the horror unfold. But then, the impossible happens. The student doesn't fall. He turns, his grip locking onto the attacker's arm like an iron vise. In a blur of motion, he seizes the weapon. With a brutal swing, he smashes the bat directly into the man's face. The thug hits the floor, unconscious before he lands. Silence descends. The boss stares at his fallen subordinate, his brain struggling to process the scene. What the hell is this? Confusion wars with fear. The student straightens up, shaking off a blow to the skull that should have killed him. Panic sets in. The boss screams at his crew, ordering them to swarm the kid and end his life immediately. A pipe swings for his head without a second thought. The boy weaves effortlessly. He fires back, a piston-like punch burying itself in the aggressor's gut. Ribs shatter under the force of the student's fist. The impact is so violent it snaps the henchman's head back like a ragdoll. Another goon tries a flying kick. Big mistake. The student snatches his foot out of the air. He torques the limb, snapping the joint, and follows up with a devastating sidekick. A third attacker rushes from the blind spot with a chair. It makes no difference. That man is launched across the room, slamming into the wall next to the terrified boss. The leader spins around, watching his empire crumble in seconds. Desperation takes over, with no other choice. He whips out a knife and lunges for the weakest target, the father. He grabs the hostage, shouting, "Let's see how tough you are now." But he never finishes the sentence. A heavy clothes iron comes sailing through the air. Bullseye, the iron smashes into the leader's face, forcing the blade from his grip. The young man closes the distance. He grabs the object and drives it down, smashing the boss's head through the drywall and embedding him in the concrete behind it. The tough guy act is gone. Broken and stuck, the leader wails for someone, anyone, to call 911. His pleas fall on deaf ears. The student stands amidst the carnage of broken bodies. Finally, the young man kneels, his hands trembling as he aunties his parents. His voice is cold, masking the pain. He mutters that if they didn't want him to fight, they shouldn't have been so helpless and poor in the first place. Adrenaline fades. Sianu's vision goes black. He collapses to the floor as his mother's scream pierces the silence. Chaos erupts in the emergency room. Doctors scramble to treat a sudden influx of battered gangsters groaning in agony. Amidst the madness, A sharp-dressed man stands at the reception, phone pressed to his ear. Intrigued, he asks a nurse what happened. She whispers the unbelievable truth. A single high schooler dismantled 10 loan sharks who attacked his father. In a recovery room, the battered boss demands vengeance. But his lackey has news the kid who did this is in this very hospital. A twisted smile forms. The boss reveals he has already summoned the Great Bear to finish the job. The kid is a walking corpse. The man in the suit freezes. He knows that name, the Great Bear. He needs to see this. He demands the boy's room number, 202. He sprints down the corridor. The Great Bear is a main event fighter candidate. This is the perfect test to see if the rumors are true. He reaches Seo Nu Kang's door, pity washing over him. The poor kid survives a gang war only to face a monster. Inside room 202, Seo Nu wakes up to a shadow blocking out the light. A human mountain stands before him. The giant scoffs. He can't believe he was hired to squash a bug like this. Nothing personal, kid. Just business. But then, the giant pauses. A smirk plays on his lips. Seo Nu Kang isn't trembling. In the face of death, the boy doesn't show an ounce of fear. Determined to teach the brat the true meaning of fear, the giant raises a massive arm to strike. But Seo Nu is faster, lunging forward with a lightning-fast straight punch. However, the counter is immediate. His opponent connects, slamming him violently into the ground. Watching from a distance, the observer shakes his head. The kid never stood a ghost of a chance. Sneering with contempt, the attacker scoffs at the boy's insanity. He claims that being fearless won't save him from a beatdown. Defying logic, Seo Nu rises from the floor. The giant blinks in disbelief, asking if he's already standing. Unbroken, the student smirks. Keep talking, big guy, your punches hit like pillows. That struck a nerve. The giant growls that killing him just got more entertaining. And he charges like a raging bull. Outside, the man in the suit freezes. He senses the murderous bloodlust in the air and knows he has to intervene immediately. Inside, a massive fist swings through the air. Seo Nu ducks under the blow and counters. A spinning kick connects squarely with his opponent's jaw. The observer's eyes go wide. He remembers clearly that no one has ever managed to stagger the Great Bear before. As the giant crumbles to his knees, his mind races. This is impossible. He possesses one of the strongest physiques in the entire country. Roaring with outrage, the giant glares. Does this brat really think a simple student's kick can finish him? Seo Nu answers with action, not words. He brings his heel down a devastating axe kick straight to the skull. The man in the suit is paralyzed by the scene. Giving no quarter, the student unleashes a torrent of punches into his fallen enemy's face. Yet, the monster is not finished. The giant catches Seo Nu mid-attack. Frustrated, he curses that he has to use his ultimate technique on a mere high schooler. Outside, the observer pales as he recognizes the stance, the bone crusher. He has to stop this now. A primal scream tears through the room. The Great Bear sneers, "This is exactly what you deserve, boy." The man rushes the door, screaming for a ceasefire. But inside, the lock is already set. The giant twists Seo Nu's body with bone-breaking force. But then, a chill runs down the giant's spine. He used full power. Yet, something is wrong. Against all laws of physics, Seo Nu begins to stand up from the hold. Confusion replaces rage. The attacker stammers, asking how he can still move. Why haven't his bones turned to dust? The young man doesn't waste breath on answers. He grips the giant's face in his hand. This time, he whispers darkly, "I'll crush you to pieces." Panic sets in. The giant struggles desperately, but his strength has vanished. Why does his grip feel like nothing against this kid? Seo Nu delivers the answer with a brutal headbutt to the nose. Groaning in pain, the giant wonders if the boy's skull is made of reinforced steel. Relentless, Seo Nu strikes again. He slams his opponent's face down, shattering the glass floor beneath them. He doesn't stop there. Seo Nu rains hammer blows down on the defeated giant. Just then, the man in the suit bursts in, commanding him to freeze. The giant is already out cold, approaching with extreme caution. The man pleads for the young fighter to calm his rage. He warns that creating a bigger mess will only make things harder to cover up. Swiftly, he pulls out his phone. He reports a patient in room 202 with head trauma from a car accident. Demanding immediate assistance. Confused, Seonu glares. Who are you? Are you with that meathead? The man answers without hesitation. Absolutely not. In fact, I'd prefer to be on your side, if you'll have me. Seonu looks at him like he's crazy. What the hell are you talking about? Suddenly, a squad in hazmat suits floods the room. A member confirms the target's identity and assures them the site will be scrubbed clean. The man in the suit issues a cold order. Keep the Great Bear unconscious for now. The medical team nods. It will be done. Eyes narrowing, Seonu steps back. Who are all these people? Calmly, the man extends a business card. Work for my boss, and the world is yours, he promises. All you have to do is fight. Seonu doesn't hesitate for a second. He crushes the card in his fist and tells the recruiter to get lost. He tosses the crumpled paper into the trash like garbage. He makes it crystal clear. He has zero interest in becoming a hired thug. Watching the boy walk away, the man mutters that his mind will surely change. Later, in the bathroom, Seonu splashes cold water onto his bruised face. Staring at his reflection, the weight of reality crashes down. His life is a total disaster, but he swore a solemn promise. He would never become a gangster. The door creaks open. His father steps in, casually asking what he's doing there. He asks where the boy thinks he's going in such a state. Seonu can't hold it back anymore. Whose fault do you think this is? Bitterness coats every word. He remembers his father bragging about being a boxing champion, pursued by top teams. If you were so great, Seonu demands, why are we drowning in debt? He presses harder. Was it too humiliating for a former champion to just open a small neighborhood gym? Finally, the painful truth comes out. Is your stupid pride more important than mom's suffering? Silence. The man simply tells him to shut up and stay put before walking out. Watching the door close, Seonu admits the dark truth to himself. He hates his father. His legs give out, collapsing to the tiled floor. He clutches his throbbing head. Maybe, he whispers, I just haven't slept enough. He quickly realizes the agony tearing him apart isn't physical exhaustion. It's the burning hatred he holds for his father. He can no longer stomach watching the old man get beaten to a pulp, sacrificing his dignity just to scrape by another day. The image of his father on his knees, begging the bully's parents for mercy, makes his blood boil. He refuses to rely on a man so broken. What's worse is the delusion. His father believes he's protecting him, while Seonu feels trapped in a living hell of their own making. As a teenager, he's powerless. He can't even land a job on a fishing boat to cover their daily debts. When a recruiter offered him a way out earlier, he foolishly turned him away out of pride. To twist the knife deeper, those same bullies have dug a hole for him that he can't climb out of. Yet, despite the resentment, he's shackled. He can't abandon his father because of his mother. His life feels like a dark pit of despair with no bottom. Disoriented, he wakes up in a strange ward. Was it another blackout? He snatches his phone to check how much time he's lost to the darkness. A mysterious text flashes on the screen. It claims the time for truth has arrived and demands a meeting tonight. Shock paralyzes him. What dirty secrets has his father been hiding? His thoughts instantly race to his mother, and panic sets in. He dials her number with trembling fingers. She picks up, but her voice is frantic. She warns him to stay away. The debt collectors are hunting them. She whispers that she's gone underground, hiding in a different room under a false identity to throw them off the scent. Seunu's heart hammers in his chest as he demands her location. She hurriedly explains she's at a cheap motel near the police station, a temporary fortress. Before the line goes dead, she begs him, stay in the hospital, stay safe, don't make a move. Guilt crashes over him like a tidal wave. This is his fault. If he hadn't fought back against the bullies, his family wouldn't be on the run. Determination snaps into place. He can't sit still. He sprints toward the exit to find her, but his phone screams to life. It's a call from his father. He answers, expecting a lecture, but a stranger's voice chills him to the bone. Are you Mr. Kang's son? The news hits him like a sledgehammer. Emergency. His father has fallen from a building. He is unconscious. The scene at the construction site is grim. His father lies broken on the cold concrete, surrounded by workers staring at a tragedy. Back at the hospital, reality is a nightmare. Seonu stares at his father, mummy wrapped in bandages, kept alive by the rhythmic hum of machines. The doctor delivers the final blow. The surgery is complex. The cost, over 100 million won, plus years of expensive rehabilitation. Seonu is obliterated. He collapses in the corner of the room, the weight of the world crushing his shoulders. What can he possibly do? Desperation claws at his throat. 100 million. He couldn't raise that kind of money in 100 lifetimes. Suddenly, a memory strikes like lightning. The business card, the recruiter he brushed off earlier. He remembers tossing it into the trash can. Hope ignites. He scrambles to his feet and bolts down the hallway, sprinting toward room 202. He bursts into the room, tearing through the space to find the bin. But when he looks inside, his heart stops. The card is gone. Powerless, defeated, he falls to his knees beside the empty trash can, tears streaming down his face. "I'm so useless," he screams into the void. He whispers that he doesn't deserve to live. But then, a shadow falls over him, looking for this. A voice cuts through the silence. The man in the suit stands there, holding the card like a lifeline. He smiles calmly. "Have you had a change of heart?" Through his tears, Seonu looks up, desperate. How much? How much can I make if I work for you?" The recruiter doesn't blink. "Win, and you walk away with at least 10 billion won." He adds a hook: "You don't even need to be the champion to get rich and famous." The man slides a document across the air, a contract with the devil. "Read it carefully before you sign your life away." Seonu stares at the words. Combat wing. He demands to know what kind of hell he's stepping into. The truth is brutal. It's a secret underground fighting tournament. Competitors are injected with special substances to unlock godlike physical abilities. Seonu recoils. "I don't do drugs." But the recruiter simply opens a sleek box on the table, revealing vials of glowing liquid. He picks one up, the liquid swirling dangerously. "These aren't street drugs, kid. This is evolution. This can give a dying old man the strength of a titan." He places it down. "But remember, taking it is your choice, not a requirement." Seonu narrows his eyes. "Who are you?" The man straightens his tie. "I am Manhwa Kim, a recruiter for the VIPs of the combat wing." Ignoring the boy's shock, Manhwa presses on. He lays out the roadmap to their partnership. Survive, make it to the top 20, and the real game begins. You'll be drafted by a sponsor. The proposal is simple, but dangerous. Seonu will choose a VIP client as his sponsor. Together, they will conquer the tournament. Seonu calculates the risk. He agrees, but on one condition: cash upfront. Manhwa laughs. Payment only comes with victory. Frustration flares in Seonu's eyes. He's being cornered. "Why the hell should I work with you under these conditions?" He snaps. Manhwa's expression remains icy calm. "Because you need money for your father's surgery and a place to hide." Seonu freezes. This man knows everything. Without missing a beat, Manhwa Kim puts a life-changing offer on the table. He will cover the skyrocketing medical bills and provide a safe house, all in exchange for Seonu fighting under his banner. He presses the advantage, reminding Seonu that desperate men have few choices. Suddenly, the shrill ring of a phone cuts through the tension. Seonu picks up, his voice tight as he answers his mother. He tries to brush it off, promising to call back later, but the situation is already shifting. Seizing the silence, the recruiter drops another bomb. They won't just pay the bills, they will shield him from the loan sharks hunting him down. "How can I trust you?" The words barely leave Seonu's lips before his phone buzzes again. He looks down to see his mother calling back instantly. He answers, heart pounding. His mother's voice trembles with disbelief. The surgery is fully paid for, and intimidating bodyguards are already standing watch. She frantically explains that a safe house has been prepared. She is being moved immediately, safe from any threats. Realization hits Seonu like a truck. He lies to his mother, claiming he hired the guards, and begs her to follow their orders. He promises to join them soon. He hangs up, the screen going black. But one burning question sears through his mind. What kind of hell requires a prize of 10 billion won? Min-sik Kim smirks, clarifying that 10 billion is merely the starting bid. The pot grows based on the bets. He mentions legendary champions who walked away with over 15 billion won in cold, hard cash. Seonu shakes his head, muttering that such sums are impossible. But the recruiter's steely gaze tells him otherwise. Kim's expression darkens. In truth, even that amount might not be enough payment for what the fighters must endure. The cost of entry is blood. Most participants either end up in a body bag or permanently crippled. Within the arena, the statistics are grim. In the last tournament alone, only 10% of fighters manage to walk away with their lives intact. Kim explains the protocol. The first step isn't training. It is creating a watertight alibi for the participant's inevitable death. My own death, Seonu repeats, the horror setting in. He argues that a secret tournament with such a high body count is impossible to hide. Min-sik Kim counters coldly. The secret stays safe for one simple reason. Everyone involved ends up in a grave. He taps the contract. Their operation is run out of a hospital. The perfect place to fabricate a cause of death without raising eyebrows. To cement the lie, they need to stage his final moments in the outside world. They need him caught on camera making a purchase or visiting a specific spot, establishing a timeline before he vanishes forever. Seonu glares, his defiance flaring. He challenges the recruiter, asking what stops him from going straight to the police. Kim doesn't even blink. He calmly states that discrediting a broke student is child's play. They will paint him as a drug addict or mentally unstable. A cruel smile touches Kim's lips. The police won't help, because it wouldn't even matter. Seonu would be declared legally dead before he even stepped foot inside a precinct. That is the terrifying power of owning the hospital that hosts the games. They control life and death on paper. The choice is an illusion. Kim slides the contract forward one last time, asking if Seonu is ready to sign his life away. Min-sik Kim adopts a gentle tone, suggesting Seonu take a few days to think it over. A predator playing with his food. Seonu doesn't wait. He snatches the pen and signs. His only demand that they keep their promise to protect his family. The ink is barely dry when a predatory grin stretches across Min-sik Kim's face. A nurse materializes from the shadows, plunging a syringe into Seonu's neck. He gasps, grabbing her arm as the world spins. "What are you doing?" The recruiter watches dispassionately. "Relax," he says. They are simply sedating him for transport to the arena. Then comes the final warning. His parents are safe, but only as long as Seonu remains useful in the tournament. Darkness swallows his vision. His mind screams to fight, but his body collapses into the void. Consciousness returns in a haze. His first thought is to check if he is in the afterlife. He blinks open his eyes to see a stranger in a hazmat suit. There's no time to think. He is strapped to a gurney, racing down a sterile corridor at breakneck speed. Panic rises. He shouts at the masked figure pushing him, demanding to know where they are. "Shut up," the figure commands. The doors ahead burst open, and a voice delivers the grim welcome. "Welcome to hell." Meanwhile, high above in the Hyunong Group headquarters, a very different meeting is taking place. Director Yun Sha, the ambitious second son of the conglomerate, leans back, listening intently to his intelligence report. He acknowledges that the boy took down the Great Bear, but he remains skeptical. He studies Seonu's photo, questioning if this kid is truly main event material. Min-sik Kim stands firm. He confirms the decision, fully aware the vice president might laugh at them for picking such a scrawny fighter. Director Cha narrows his eyes, demanding the logic behind this risky move. The subordinate reveals the master plan. The director's brother is obsessed with brute strength. They need a fighter who looks weak to bait him into a massive bet. A thoughtful silence falls. The director stares at the photo, wondering if this unassuming boy is truly the weapon that will destroy his brother. With absolute conviction, Kim Min-seok reports on his examination of Seonwoo's body following the catastrophic bear strike. He claims his findings were nothing short of a miracle. Intrigued, Won Chao leans in, demanding to know exactly what defied the laws of nature. Meanwhile, Seonwoo jolts awake in a strange, cold facility, only to see a boot rushing toward his face. A man attempts to stomp on him, but an armed guard barks a command to back down. The attacker awkwardly raises his hands, laughing it off as a harmless prank. Suddenly, a drone buzzes overhead, scanning his vitals and confirming the player is conscious. Xianwu's mind races. What kind of twisted game is this? Disoriented, he drops to his knees, frantically scanning his surroundings. Why is he here? And why is he dressed in a school uniform? The drone's mechanical voice cuts through the air, announcing the start of the first round. This is a ruthless qualifier to decide who earns a ticket to the main battle arena. A mechanical panel slides open with a hiss, revealing a single, ominous syringe. The drone delivers the twisted rules. Each player will receive a random drug designed to supercharge one specific ability. It declares the VIP betting table officially open. Facing this madness, Xianwu's opponent snatches the applicator and follows the instructions, injecting the unknown substance. In that critical second, a memory flashes through Xianwu's mind. He may have broken his promise to graduate, but he refuses to shatter his vow never to touch drugs. A blood-curdling scream tears through the room. The syringe clatters to the floor, coated in crimson, as the other man roars in ecstasy, claiming he rolled a power-enhancing drug. Xianwu watches with laser focus, analyzing the grotesque transformation taking over his enemy's body. Without warning, the opponent launches a devastating kick. The impact sends Xianwu flying like a ragdoll, smashing into the wall with enough force to crack the concrete. Struggling to recover, Xianwu realizes this guy is on a whole different level. Did the drug hyper-evolve his muscle fibers? The drone confirms the threat. Han Kaiyil has successfully enhanced his raw power stats. Luck is finally on his side, laughing manically. Kaiyil regrets not being outside to crush everyone who ever mocked his scrawny frame. He turns his sadistic gaze toward Xianwu Kang, pondering out loud exactly how he should execute him. Xianwu wastes no time, landing a lightning-fast punch to the face. But Kaiyil barely flinches, asking if that weak tap was a joke. Xianwu's sharp eyes catch a detail. The monster's strength increased, but his reaction speed is still human. Xianwu dashes in to close the gap. However, Kaiyil counters with a heavy haymaker that connects squarely with his target. Blood sprays from Xianwu's face. He can barely track the attacks, forcing him to execute a desperate backflip to evade the next lethal strike. It's not enough. Kaiyil slams a fist into his chest, launching Xianwu through the air again. Caught in mid-air, Kaiyil grabs him, boasting that brute force is all he needs. Mercilessly, he pile-drives Xianwu headfirst into the floor. The adrenaline is intoxicating. He celebrates the thrill of the kill, leaping high into the air and screaming that he is the apex predator now. Burning with hatred, he vows to drag every arrogant elite down from their high pedestals and crush them into the dust. He descends with a catastrophic knee strike straight to Xianwu's skull. He follows up with a savage stomp to the chest, shattering the ground beneath his victim. His voice drips with cruelty as he declares that if he's going to break something, he might as well pulverize the rib cage. Flashback. Kim Min-seok recalls the moment he examined the boy who miraculously survived a giant bear attack. The data he found that day was impossible. Won-cha looks at him, bewildered by the doctor's disbelief. Struggling to articulate the anomaly, Min-seok explains, Xianwu possesses physical durability 10 times greater than an average human. His bone density is off the charts. He is biologically inhuman. Back in the arena, Xianwu's hand clamps onto Kaiyil's leg. Seizing the split-second opening, he launches a precision kick directly to the giant's chin. Kaiyil stumbles back, stunned. How is this kid standing without drugs? He assumes Xianwu just hasn't adapted to the power yet. From the ground, Xianwu analyzes his enemy. The drugs boosted power, but the heavy muscles are draining his stamina, making him slower. He has a plan: avoid the grapple at all costs and tear him apart with high-speed jabs instead of heavy haymakers. Xianwu explodes forward. Kaiyil braces himself, roaring that the brat has only come back for a second beating. With fluid agility, Xianwu slips the attack, leaving Kaiyil punching thin air. He instantly counters, smashing a fist into his opponent's face. Maintaining the rhythm, he weaves under a clumsy grapple attempt and snaps another clean strike to the jaw. Giving him zero room to breathe, Xianwu unleashes a torrent of fast, surgical punches. Overwhelmed by the barrage, Kaiyil collapses to the floor, eyes rolling back. Seeing his chance, Xianwu wins up for the finisher. Suddenly, the unconscious opponent snaps awake and locks Xianwu's arms in a vice grip. A twisted smile spreads across Kaiyil's face. He took the hits on purpose to bait him in. Xianwu struggles, but the trap is set. Kaiyil taunts him, asking if he really thought a few lucky punches would be enough to win. His eyes gleam with malice as he asks a chilling question. Do you know why kangaroos pin their enemies' arms before they strike? With his arms locked in a vice grip, Chilhan unleashes a savage, desperate headbutt, but the reckless blow backfires instantly. Consciousness flickers as he collapses, barely able to crawl, his body screaming in protest against his will. Pure fury explodes. He smashes his fist into the cold floor, unable to comprehend why his own limbs refuse to obey him. Impossible, he shrieks, his sanity fraying. How could he possibly lose to someone fighting without a single drop of enhancement drugs? His manic gaze locks onto the second syringe. One dose wasn't enough to awaken his true potential. He needs more power right now. Like a beast possessed, he drags himself to the machine and snatches the second vial. Xianwu sees the madness in his eyes and charges forward. He knows that syringe spells certain death. Without a second thought, Xianwu launches himself through the air to intercept the fatal mistake. It's too late. Chilhan jams the needle in. The drone's robotic voice chimes out, stamina enhancement complete. In a blur of chemically fueled speed, he strikes Xianwu from behind. The impact sends the boy flying, crashing hard before a hand clamps over his skull. Who's the thug now? Chilhan roars, lifting Xianwu effortlessly into the air like a ragdoll. He leaps up and drives Xianwu's head into the concrete with devastating force. The drone tries to intervene, but Chilhan swats it away. I'm not done. He screams, tired of being the victim, ready to become the predator. He locks Xianwu in a suffocating rear chokehold. Feel that? This is the fear I live with every single day. The grip tightens like a python. Stubborn rats like you don't deserve mercy, he hisses. I'll end this once and for all. Vision blurring, strength fading, Xianwu feels the abyss calling him. In his final moment of consciousness, he cries out for his father. Then, silence descends. Both Xianwu and Chilhan lie completely motionless on the shattered pavement. Suddenly, the drone blares. Game over. Player fatality confirmed. Watching from a remote screen, Yuan Sha narrows his eyes at the scene. Minxia Kim leans back, his voice devoid of emotion. Simple cause and effect, an overdose. The survival rate from mixing to boosters is less than 0.5%, he notes coldly. Chilhan survived the power drug, a miracle in itself. But injecting the stamina booster meant for Xianwu, that was a one-way ticket to the grave. Yuan Sha scoffs, so the opponent killed himself. The kid, Xianwu. He's got the devil's own luck. Luck, Minxia corrects him sharply. Calling it luck is irrational. Look at the data on the boy's body. Yuan shrugs, so he has tough bones. Who cares? There are monsters in this tournament that could snap him like a twig. You're missing the point, Minxia counters. Our drugs enhance muscles, organs, even hormones. But bones, no drug can forge bones like that. That boy, his skeletal structure is naturally distinctly abnormal. A pause hangs in the air. Fine, Yuan decides. Let's test his worth on the main stage. What's next on the agenda? Since he survived the qualifying round, Minxia replies. He advances immediately to the next phase. But first, we patch him up. He needs to be in peak condition for the slaughter ahead. From this point on, he isn't fighting thugs. He'll be facing monsters who have awakened powers we can barely quantify. Inside the sterile white of the treatment room, Xianwu sits alone. Silence wraps around him like a shroud. His head hangs low. Did Chilhan die because of him? He only wanted to knock him out, not end his life. Then, the cold reality hits. He was seconds away from death himself. His father's voice cuts through the guilt. Get a grip, son. His eyes snap open. He is the last line of defense, the only one who can save his family from ruin. The intercom crackles to life. All winners proceed to the lobby immediately. A medic steps back. The guide will explain the rules. Listen, or you die. Simple as that. And don't try anything stupid, the medic warns. The guides are armed. The drone buzzes, leading Xianwu into the shadows. He follows the machine down a long, winding corridor that opens up into a massive, cavernous underground space. He scans the towering walls. This isn't just an arena. It's a fortress designed to keep hope out and prisoners in. A pang of regret stings his chest. He couldn't even say goodbye to his mother. But he remembers the contract. His silence buys their safety. He has to survive. There is no other option. I thought I was the monster. He reflects, looking at his hands. Out there, I was the anomaly. But here, even a neighborhood bully becomes a weapon of mass destruction. A chilling thought takes root. How many true monsters are waiting in the dark? Player arrival confirmed, the drone announces, opening the main lobby. A massive steel door groans open. Xianwu turns to see a swarm of drones pouring out like a mechanical hive. All participants accounted for. The system declares 124 players. Let the real game begin. Attention, the electronic command echoes through the hall. Everyone is ordered to gather before the main screen immediately. The briefing is about to begin. Xianwu scans the room, cold sweat trickling down his neck. He sizes up the competition and realizes the terrifying truth. These aren't just people, they are monsters in human skin. The realization hits him like a physical blow. These predators are on a completely different level than the opponent he faced in the first round. Survival instinct kicks in. He decides to become invisible. He must keep a low profile and avoid any unnecessary injuries until the official match begins. But fate has other plans. A massive shadow looms over him. A giant man approaches, mocking his presence. Xianwu curses his luck, realizing his school uniform acts like a neon sign for trouble. Whispers snake through the crowd. Competitors sneer that the kid only survived because his previous opponent overdosed and died. One fighter points at Xianwu's uniform, laughing. He claims the wealthy elite probably kept the kid alive, just to see something tragic happen to a student. Another thug cracks his knuckles, grinning. He claims to be bored and wonders if he should have some fun toying with the fresh meat. But before he can strike, his partner holds him back. Someone else has already claimed the prey. Hearing his name barked out, Xianwu spins around. The giant, known as Big Bear, demands an answer. He looms over the boy, asking again if he wants to play a game of death. When Xianwu remains silent, the beast strikes. A massive hand clamps onto his head. Big Bear grins, declaring he has no choice but to crush him right here. Time seems to slow. Xianwu realizes that mere survival isn't enough. He needs to evolve. In a flash, he twists his body, slipping through the giant's grasp. He moves like water. Xianwu swiftly dodges the hand coming at him. Big Bear blinks in confusion. Suddenly, Mr. Kang steps into the line of fire. Without hesitation, Mr. Kang extends his arm, commanding them to stop. In response, a vice-like grip crushes down on his wrist. An aggressive voice demands to know who dares interrupt. Mr. Kang stands firm, his voice steady as steel. He states plainly that Xianwu is just a child. Tension explodes. Kang braces for the impact. Big Bear scoffs at Kang's mechanical arm, mocking him. He asks if he is really willing to risk his life for a useless brat. The taunts continue. The giant laughs, asking if he is really going to throw his life away for a weakling. Xianwu tries to de-escalate, stepping back into the shadows, but the bloodlust is too strong. Big Bear roars. He declares he will slaughter them both, starting with the protector. Xianwu cannot stand idly by. He rushes forward to fight, but before he can strike, boom! A mysterious force slams into Big Bear with devastating power. Xianwu freezes, eyes wide. The giant's massive frame crashes to the floor, lifeless. A drone hovers overhead. Its mechanical voice announces that unauthorized combat is forbidden. The drone delivers a chilling ultimatum. Any further violation will result in immediate execution. A shiver runs down Xianwu's spine. They killed a man instantly, without a second thought. Is it even possible to leave this hellhole alive? Static screeches across the room. All eyes turn to the main screen. A masked figure appears, welcoming the survivors to the next stage of hell. He cuts straight to the chase. The drug test round was just a warm-up with no eliminations. But from now on, defeat means total elimination. And in this game, elimination means being physically broken and unable to fight. But the reward matches the risk. Despite the danger, they are all here for the prize. 10 billion won waits for the ultimate victor. The room erupts in greedy cheers. Fear is replaced by avarice. Xianyu clenches his fist. With that kind of money, his family could finally escape their poverty. The host continues, only one warrior can claim the grand prize. However, there is a twist. Anyone who survives to the top 16 will receive 5% of the total amount bet by the VIPs. Ambition flares among the fighters. One man shouts that he will take it all, the prize money and the betting pot. The system is revealed. Each player gets a personal broadcast channel and a camera guide. The VIPs are watching. They will bet on the fighters who entertain them the most. The host smiles behind his mask. The more attention they grab, the richer they become. To win, they must become stars of violence. Final instructions are given. 5-person dorms are now open. The players are free to choose their roommates or their victims. Everyone is ordered to their rooms. The screen fades to black, leaving the survivors with a promise that their guides will answer any questions. The scheming begins immediately. Fighters whisper that they need to stick to the strong to get screen time. Rooming with a kid is social suicide. Xianyu's heart sinks. He realizes that finding a room will be impossible. No one wants to be dragged down by the underdog. Suddenly, a warm presence appears at his side. It is Mr. Kang. He tells the boy not to worry. He speaks with quiet confidence. He promises to protect Xianyu until the official tournament begins. Xianyu looks at the older man, stunned. In the distance, a blond man walks away, the one who likely killed Big Bear. Mr. Kang ignores the threat. He points to an unclaimed room and invites Xianyu to join him. Xianyu hesitates, confused. Why would Kang help him? Everyone else treats him like a plague. Kang has already been targeted just for standing near him. He cannot understand the man's intentions, but he knows one thing for sure. Danger lurks in every shadow, regardless of the room he chooses. Kang asks one last time, "Are you coming?" Xianyu makes his choice. "I'm coming." As they leave, the hecklers from before sneer. They laugh, predicting that the old cripple and the high schooler will be dead last in the viewership rankings. The scheming continues elsewhere. One competitor explains his strategy with a sly grin. He chose a room right next to the most popular players. He doesn't need to be strong. He just needs to be near the spotlight to survive. His companion smirks, claiming these hulking beasts will draw VIPs like moths to a flame. Next door, 3 mountains of muscle sit in suffocating silence. The blonde fighter from before approaches their sanctuary. The moment he steps inside, the door clicks shut behind him, sealing their fate. He saunters up to one of the giants, eyeing the chair like a throne. "Nice seat." He sneers. "Scoot over." Veins bulge on the behemoth's neck as he stands. "You closed the door before the cameras rolled? Are you stupid?" Roaring, the giant lunges. "You got a death wish." But before he can even blink, a fist buries itself in his gut. The titan crumbles to the floor, unconscious instantly. The blonde man doesn't even break a sweat. Anyone else want to say hello? He orders them to stay silent like good little dogs. This is Mushin, a 19-year-old prodigy of Kia, and he's just marked his territory. Meanwhile, inside a luxury sedan cutting through the city, Chairman Cha receives an urgent update. Intelligence suggests the vice president is crawling back to the former champion, Cam. Cha scoffs in disgust. Great, now the champion is off the table. Their grand plan is crumbling. The only card they have left to play is a mere high school student. Minsa Kim smiles darkly. If he survives to the top 16, we get another chance to inject the serum. Seonu is the perfect vessel, Minsik explains. His skeletal density is 10 times that of a normal human. He was built for this enhancement. Once the drug hits his system, he won't just win. He will become the greatest martial artist in history. Sha insists on keeping a tight leash on their asset. Fearing poachers, Minsik waves it off. Don't worry, no one is watching him yet. He reveals the brutal truth. Sianu's roommates are the bottom of the barrel. Lowest viewership ratings in the entire tournament. Back in the holding cell, Mr. Kang sighs. Getting eyes on us in this dump is going to be a war in itself. The crowd only cares about the stars, he grumbles. But they do have a wild card, Amanda Groch. Ranked 23rd, a lethal master of capoeira and jiu-jitsu. Then there's Minho Kim, ranked 25th, small frame, but hands of stone. And finally, Meenan, ranked 28th, a lunatic who spends his waking hours screaming at his own elbow. Help me touch it, Meenan wails, contorting his body. Sionu watches from the corner, eyes deadpan, questioning his life choices. A buzzing sound fills the air. Showtime, Kang whispers, spotting the camera drone. The guides are filming. We need hype to drive up the betting odds, Kang shouts. He rolls up his sleeve, revealing his cybernetically enhanced arm. He drops into a one-armed handstand, pumping out reps and shouting the count. Sionu sighs internally. That's definitely not going to go viral. Suddenly, Amanda steps up. She points a single finger at the concrete floor, and the stone cracks under the pressure. She shifts her entire body weight onto that one digit, floating in perfect balance. Sionu blinks. How is that physically possible? The room becomes a circus of strength as Kang and Amanda push their bodies to the limit side by side. Wait, Sionu calls out. But Minho sneers, strength is for idiots. In a blur, he vanishes, dashing across the room faster than the eye can follow. Sionu's jaw drops. I couldn't even track him. Is that human speed? Meanwhile, a triumphant scream pierces the air. I am a god, Meenan roars. While the others defied physics, he finally managed to lick his own elbow. Sionu stares at the madness surrounding him. It's impressive, terrifying, and utterly ridiculous all at once. Suddenly, the main screen flickers to life. The brackets for the top 124 are locked in. The room falls silent as they scan the list. Sionu finds his name, and the name of his executioner, Kai. Back in the car, Chairman Cha frowns. Is this Kai really as dangerous as the rumors say? Minsuk's expression darkens. He's a legend from the Lethwai circuit. He has never tasted defeat. Not once. Cha tilts his head. Lethwai? Burmese bare-knuckle boxing, Minsuk explains. Think Muay Thai, but strip away the rules and add pure savagery. Cha shrugs. Muay Thai allows elbows and knees. Is it really that different? It is night and day, Minsuk corrects him. Lethwai is the art of the 9 limbs. No gloves, no padding. And unlike any other sport, headbutts are perfectly legal. The skull is the hardest bone in the body. A direct impact can shatter facial bones and end a life. That is why civilized sports ban it. Minsuk pauses, his voice dropping an octave. But headbutts aren't even the worst part. In Lethwai, you can strike the spine and the back of the neck. One wrong hit means paralysis. Or the morgue. Kai didn't stop in the ring, Minsuk adds. When the sports world bored him, he became an enforcer for a criminal syndicate. A syndicate? Cha asks. Minsuk nods. The ring had too many rules for a beast like him. He hunted famous fighters in the streets like prey. That level of violence attracted the underworld. Cha looks worried. Can our high school student survive a monster like that? Minsuk sighs, looking out the window honestly. I don't think so. Until now, Sionu has been lucky. He has only traded blows with amateurs who have zero martial arts discipline. But the game has changed. His next opponent is Kai, a 28-year-old master of Lethwai. The recovery pod hisses open, steam rising into the air. Sionu sits up, shaking off the grogginess. How long was he out? He pauses. Why does his body feel so incredibly light? He flexes his arm, testing the sensation. It is not just a feeling. The raw power coursing through him is real. He realizes he has felt this evolution once before. His mind flashes back to the life-or-death battle against the Great Bear. He remembers waking up with this exact surge of vitality after that slaughter. He stands, the energy humming under his skin. He has definitely gotten stronger. From the neighboring pod, Minsuk Kim speaks up. He tells the kid not to be so shocked. It is a biological fact. Muscle fibers pushed to the absolute brink without snapping will recover. harder than steel. Minsik adds that Seo-nu had likely never pushed his body to its true breaking point until now. The realization hits the young man. Fighting that bear was not just a battle, it was the moment he finally touched his limit. However, Minsik narrows his eyes. That recovery speed is unnatural. He asks if Seo-nu is doping to heal that fast. Seo-nu ignores the accusation. He has a question that has been burning in his mind since yesterday. He looks the older man in the eye. Why is Minsik helping him? Why risk crippling injuries for a stranger? Minsik's expression softens. He begins to explain. This young man reminds him of his own flesh and blood. His son. Regret colors his voice. If he had been a better father, maybe his son would not have fallen into a pit of debt with the loan sharks. Seo-nu understands immediately. He asks if that is the reason Minsik entered this hellish tournament. The answer is a solemn nod. He fights to clear the debt and save his family. Minsik continues. Seeing Seo-nu fighting all alone triggered something in him. It reminded him of the boy he neglected for far too long. He could not just stand by and watch history repeat itself. Seo-nu's face hardens. He tells the old man to stop wasting his time on a stranger. He delivers a harsh truth. If Minsik wants to be a good father, he needs to survive and get out of here. Dying in this place solves nothing. Annoyed by the brat's attitude, Minsik drags him into a headlock. He scoffs, asking why the kid acts like being saved is the end of the world. Suddenly, a voice shrieks across the room. This cannot be right. Minen is staring at the large monitor, fuming. Why is he not scheduled for the main arena? As a camera drone buzzes by, he screams that he is a talent. He can touch his elbow with his tongue. Minsik cuts in with the cold reality. Only the viral fights make it to the main arena. The rest are relegated to the backwaters, just like the last round. He follows that logic to a grim conclusion. It means their group has the lowest audience rating of them all. But there is a twist. Everyone except Minen is scheduled for the main stage. That means something critical. It indicates that their opponents are the stars of the show. The deadliest, most popular fighters in the tournament. Seo-nu smiles. Perfect. This is exactly what he wanted. Minsik turns, confused. How is fighting a monster a good thing? The young man explains his strategy. This is the golden ticket to draw all eyes to their channel. The older man just shakes his head. This kid is completely insane. Just then, Minen drops another bombshell. The main arena will not just be filled with regular viewers. He reveals the stakes. 16 VIPs will be watching in the flesh. These are the absolute apex predators of the business world. Seo-nu's heart skips a beat. That means the elusive talent scout might be there, too. Meanwhile, under the cover of night, 3 black cars pull up to a desolate warehouse. Yoon-cha steps out of a vehicle, looking disgusted. Why are they at this filthy dump? They were promised the main arena. Secretary Kang lowers his voice. The location of combat wings is a fiercely guarded secret. The organizers chose this discreet extraction point for security. He adds a disturbing detail. He noticed something odd. Recently, an unknown third party began tracking Seo-nu's channel. Yoon-cha freezes. Does this mean they are being investigated? A voice from the shadows replies. Surely, there must be a misunderstanding. On the catwalk above, Sun Young-cha, the youngest daughter of the Hosen group, looks down at them. She has heard everything. She smirks, claiming she is only here because she found Seo-nu's journey entertaining. Yoon-cha explodes with rage. What is she doing here, stalking him like a rat, especially after she was kicked out of the company? Secretary Kang observes the tension. His younger sister seems obsessed with everything Yoon-cha does. Furious, Yoon-cha shouts that she is no sister of his. She is just the daughter of a mistress. Sun Young walks down the stairs, unfazed. That is cruel to say to the girl who sacrificed her education to help her brothers run the empire. She smiles icily. Thanks to him, she stumbled upon this fascinating underground world. She offers her sarcastic gratitude. Yoon-cha snarls back. He does not know what she is planning, but she better vanish right now. Suddenly, a luxury limousine roars into the warehouse, stunning the trio. 2 figures in hazmat suits emerge. The wait is over. They announce that the escort to the main arena is ready. The scene shifts. Sun Young-cha pulls off her blindfold. She blinks, adjusting to the light. Before her lies a colossal, circular coliseum. A security guard bows. Below is the bloodbath of the main arena. She is standing in one of the 16 exclusive VVIP suites. Sun Young smiles. She has finally arrived. She offers a chilling insight, revealing that this arena is nothing more than her brother's true playground. Elsewhere, Yunsha marvels at the sheer scale of the facility, admitting it dwarfs his imagination. Mr. Kong cuts in, noting that the moment the current bloodbath concludes, the battle for Room 10 will commence. Without warning, a massive explosion lights up the screen before them. The broadcast clears to reveal Minso Han crushing an opponent against a pulverized wall. Stunned, Yunsha stammers, asking what kind of monster they are looking at. Mr. Kang identifies the beast as Minso Han. He adds a curious detail. There appears to be another fighter here who is the same age as Seo Nu. The man beside him questions if they let another high schooler into this brutality. Mr. Kang corrects him. Technically, the boy dropped out, so he is no longer a student. Still, he finds it unsettling that two absolute monsters emerged from the exact same school. He drops the bombshell. Minso Han hails from the very same high school as Seo Nu. With Minso Han's decisive victory, the drone chimes in. The wars for rooms 9 and 20 are over. The showdowns for rooms 10 and 3 begin now. The command is given. Enter the arena. Minso Kim feels a chill run down his spine, realizing the scale of combat here is leagues above the first round. The drone's mechanical voice instructs everyone to hold their ground. Everyone except the first player, Minho Kim. Minho steps up to the arena entrance, steeling his nerves for what lies ahead. As he advances, the drone orders the victors to clear the area. Minso Han walks past him. In a casual motion, Minso runs a hand through his hair as they cross paths. Watching from the sidelines, Minso prays Minho keeps his cool. Suddenly, ***, a rock smashes into the wall right next to Seonu's head. Seonu wonders where the projectile came from. Minho glances back, his eyes narrowing. He saw everything. He replays the split second in his mind. Minso feigned fixing his hair while simultaneously flicking that rock at Seonu with terrifying precision. Seonu just stares blankly at the impact point. Minho is impressed. Most fighters wouldn't have even tracked an object moving at that velocity. He turns, calling out sharply to Minso Han. Minso stops and looks back, scoffing. He asks if the student on Minho's team is truly that arrogant. Minho doesn't back down. He simply replies that he doesn't think so, refusing to accept the deflection. Minso questions the meaning behind his words, his tone dripping with disbelief. In a flash, Minho drops into a fighting stance. Watching the sudden escalation, Minso Kim panics, asking what on earth Minho thinks he is doing. Amanda cuts in, her voice grave. This wasn't random. She explains that Minho has hypersensitive instincts, a burst of murderous intent that Strong would never escape his notice. Suddenly, Minso releases a bizarre, suffocating energy from his entire body. Just as quickly, he turns and walks away. Minho is left confused, wondering if his nerves played tricks on him, but deep down, he knows the threat was real, but he has no time to dwell on it. A massive shadow looms behind him. Minho Kim begins to doubt himself, wondering if he is too weak to ever take revenge. A rough voice asks what he is staring at, snapping him back to reality. Standing before him is his opponent, a mountain of muscle named Pus, the wrestler. In the VIP box, the Snug-On Hotel president questions the matchup. Why pick Pus? Wrestling involves zero striking techniques. His assistant corrects him immediately. It doesn't matter how hard you punch. A strike becomes useless the moment a wrestler drags you to deep waters. Once they grab their prey, it is game over. They execute throws and joint locks that can snap bones like twigs. Few can survive it. That is why wrestlers dominate mixed martial arts. Their foundation is undeniable. Sure, a striker can hold their own using just their fists, but facing an opponent who turns their entire body into a weapon, that is a nightmare scenario. The assistant adds that with such a massive size difference, the outcome is practically decided. The drone hovers, announcing both gladiators are ready. The bell rings. The battle between Minho Kim and Pes is officially open. Pes sneers, dripping with disdain. He asks if Minho is some boxing rookie, mocking him as a weakling who has never thrown a punch without padded gloves. He taunts him further, saying he almost feels pity that Minho has to die first. Minho doesn't say a word. He flashes forward and slams a fist directly into Pes's eye. Asterisk smash asterisk. Pes recoils instantly, clutching his damaged eye in shock. Ice cold, Minho asks who exactly is the weakling now. Pes grunts, trying to regain focus with his one good eye. It is futile. He cannot track Minho's speed. Minho vanishes into the blind spot, and asterisk bam asterisk another heavy blow connects with his face. The combo continues. Another clean punch lands. Desperate, Pes lunges forward, trying to grab him, but Minho weaves through the air like smoke. Punishment rains down. Minho delivers a rapid-fire barrage to the face and chest. He targets the other eye, blinding him, before landing one final, devastating strike. Watching the domination, Minsa Kim wonders if the match is already wrapped up. But Amanda shakes her head. It is not over. She points out a terrifying detail. Pes has started blocking the hits. The wrestler is adapting. He absorbs the next flurry with his guard. Realizing his attacks are losing effect, Minho creates distance. The beast attacks. Pes lunges again, fingers reaching for a grapple. Minho barely manages to dodge backward at the very last second. Confusion washes over him. Even amidst his attack, he witnessed something inexplicable, and Pes looks just as bewildered by the sudden turn of events. Then memory strikes, just as vision began to fade from his remaining eye. The hairs on his neck stood up, electrifying him with a warning shock. Finally, the realization hits home. With chilling confidence, Pes announces that he no longer needs his sight and closes his eyes. Completely. Minho cannot comprehend the strategy. He stares in disbelief as his opponent voluntarily embraces total darkness. Even without understanding the plan, Minho refuses to hesitate. Convinced of his victory, he declares the match is already over and charges forward. But then, the impossible happens. Pes snatches Minho's fist out of thin air, shocking the entire arena into a dead silence. Instinct screams at Minho to dodge left. He tries to retreat, but a second hand is already there, blocking his escape route perfectly. With overwhelming power, Pes hoists him into the air like a ragdoll. Gravity takes over as he slams Minho's body violently onto the cold arena floor. Minho Kim roars that it was a devastating suplex. Yusin Go observes that losing his eye has somehow made the fighter terrifyingly stronger. The assistant reveals the dark truth. The loss of vision triggered the drug's side effect, hyperactivating his remaining senses. Pes looms over his fallen prey. He taunts Minho, claiming he should be grateful, for without this injury, true power would have remained out of reach. Suddenly, a single finger on Minho's hand twitches. In the blink of an eye, a thunderous punch connects squarely with Pes's face. Stunned, Yusin Go questions how he can still fight effectively after losing sight in both eyes. Mak Kim stares in disbelief that Minho survived the slam, insisting that if he keeps up this pressure, victory is still within reach. But the assistant shatters that hope, revealing that Minho is fighting while completely unconscious. The president freezes in shock as Minho lies there, fists still raised in defiance. Amanda Gross screams for him to wake up. He needs to move immediately, before the predator finds him in the dark. Pes rises from the floor, declaring his blindness is total. Yet, a brand new, electric sensation surges through every nerve in his body. He begins to prowl around the arena. At first confused, he marvels at the symphony of sensory input flooding his brain. It is a revelation. He can smell the distinct scent of every grain of sand on the floor and hear the rhythmic pattern of his opponent's breathing. The air itself speaks to him. He feels the subtle shifts in atmospheric pressure with every slight movement in the ring. Euphoria takes over. Pes announces he can even sense threats from behind, finally realizing the terrifying potential of the drug coursing through his veins. Thrilled by this evolution, he admits he only wanted raw strength. Instead, he received a godlike ascension that makes him more powerful by the second. As a twisted tribute to the one who unleashed this beast, he decides to end Minho Kim's life once and for all. Zero hesitation remains as he sprints toward his target. On the ground, Manhwa realizes his body is paralyzed and cries out for his brother in desperation. The tragic image of his brother's broken body floods his mind, drowning out the pain. That memory ignites a spark. He recalls the blood oath promise to find his brother, no matter the cost. His mind flashes back to a mysterious man handing him a card, the key to finding his brother's killer. Back in reality, Manhwa screams for him as Pes leaps for the killing blow. Suddenly, the world freezes. Time itself seems to stop, suspending his opponent's lethal fist just inches from his face. Manhwa snaps his eyes open, bewildered. He wonders why the universe has slowed to a crawl. The truth dawns on him. Time hasn't slowed. He has become impossibly fast. Pes' fist smashes into the floor, pulverizing the spot where Manhwa's head was a millisecond ago. But Manhwa is already gone. He has propelled himself to the far side of the arena in a blur of motion. The crowd gasps, unable to process the speed. Kneeling amidst the rubble, Pes demands to know when his opponent moved. Manhwa explains coolly. While Pes was busy bragging about his senses, he had enough time to recover. And now, the real fight begins. Pes stiffens. He realizes this is no bluff. His opponent has transcended previous speed limits. The young challenger issues a dare to see if Pes can keep up. Manhwa drops into his stance, suggesting they start with level 1 speed. Pes senses the shift in air pressure. Manhwa Kim explodes forward like a human bullet. His strike is blocked, and Manhwa wonders if it was mere luck. Undeterred, he decides to ratchet up the intensity. He unleashes another strike, but Pes weaves past it. Surprised by the blind man's evasion, Manhwa retreats as Pes dodges yet another blow. Manhwa questions how he can track such velocity. Pes reveals he can feel the very heartbeat and muscle tension of his foe. He has no blind spots. Manhwa grits his teeth. Mediocre attacks are useless. He needs to gamble everything on one decisive move. He coils his muscles for maximum output. The fighter launches forward with such force that the ground beneath him shatters from the launch. He prepares his ultimate technique, the right straight. But suddenly, Pes intercepts him with a crushing counter-punch to the face. Pes pauses, confused. Why did his opponent collapse mid-attack without being hit properly? He questions reality, wondering if he is hallucinating again, as he was certain the impact would have snapped a neck. Pes realizes the bizarre truth. If Manhwa had been an inch closer, his neck would have snapped. The kid miraculously saved his own life by tripping at the last second. Manhwa Kim realized his supernatural speed was useless. His opponent was predicting the trajectory of every strike before it even launched. Shifting tactics, Manhwa killed his momentum and switched to pure, rhythmic footwork. Pes' eyes narrowed as he realized the blur of speed had vanished, replaced by standard, human movement. Are you tired already? Pes scoffed, wondering what a speedster could possibly do at a crawl. He roared for the boy to give up before he killed him, but his taunt was cut short by a fist slamming squarely into his jaw. Manhwa had slipped through the guard, delivering a devastating cross to Pes' face. The crowd gasped in disbelief. The kid had actually landed a clean hit. But Manhwa didn't celebrate. He began weaving around his opponent, his breath coming in heavy. Ragged gasps. A spectator frowned, questioning the strategy. Why is he wasting his last reserves of stamina on useless feints? But suddenly, Manhwa lunged from the rhythm, burying another heavy punch into Pes' face. The enhanced fighter stumbled back, shock written in his eyes. Manhwa unleashed a barrage of body shots, pummeling his opponent's chest. To Pes, it looked like a dozen afterimages of Manhwa were circling him at once. Why use feints if he can land hits at will? A spectator asked. Amanda lowered her glasses, her voice grave. He's not landing hits despite the feints. He's landing asterisk because asterisk of them. As she spoke, Manhwa drove a sledgehammer of a blow into Pes' torso. Amanda broke it down when Manhwa stopped fainting earlier. He became a straight line predictable. He thought his opponent was blind, but that was a mistake. So he's tricking him into thinking his vision is back. A man asked. Amanda shook her head. It goes far deeper than that. He is deceiving every single one of Pes' heightened senses, she revealed. With that new drug-induced power, predicting attacks should be easy. But Paz hasn't had the ability long enough to master it, and against high-level finds specifically designed to confuse the senses, his mind gets overloaded. Amanda watched in awe. Minho is using the chaos of sensory data to scramble his brain. The boy figured out the limit of his opponent's prediction ability in mere seconds. A chill ran through her. Minho Kim, he might be far stronger than any of us imagined. On the arena floor, Minho slipped under a hook and countered, smashing his fist into Pais's face once again. Up in the VIP box, Boss Go turned on his assistant, furious. "Why did you make me bet on this loser? He can't even handle a child." The assistant stammered, "Wait, look closer. Look at Pais's face." The assistant urged, "Does that look like the face of a man who is losing?" Down below, Pais grinned, claiming he had the boy right where he wanted him, before suddenly snatching Minho from behind. "Got you," Pais roared, screaming that victory belonged to his superior senses. He hoisted Minho into the air and slammed him into the concrete with bone-shattering force. The audience screamed in horror, but then, the body on the ground dissolved into thin air. Pais froze, staring at his empty hands, his mind reeling. "What? I definitely grabbed him." Standing 10 feet away, perfectly unharmed, Minho Kim watched him coldly. A spectator leaped up, shouting, "Why did Pais just throw himself backward at nothing?" "He attacked the brain," Amanda said, her eyes locked on the arena. Sonu looked confused. "The brain." "Minho targeted the head relentlessly," she explained. "He didn't just hit him, he rattled the skull. Before the vibration from one punch could stop, the next one landed. He created a resonance frequency. Even a man with godlike senses can't maintain focus when his brain is vibrating inside his skull. That is how Minho hacked Pais's senses," she finished. "He caused a sensory glitch so severe, Pais hallucinated catching a man who wasn't even there." Sprawled on the ground, Pais stared at the ceiling, tears of frustration welling up. How are his senses sharper than mine without the drug? It's not fair." His eyes rolled back, and Pais collapsed into unconsciousness. Minho stood silent as a drone hovered overhead, scanning the fallen fighter. "Winner, Minho Kim," the mechanical voice announced. Minho stumbled, exhaustion finally hitting him. In the box, Yuzgo slammed his fist on the table, cursing his lost fortune. Minho dropped to his knees in the center of the arena, looking up at the blinding lights. "Brother," he whispered. Watching from the shadows, Cha realized the truth. This isn't a tournament for humans. She finally understood why her brothers were so obsessed with this place. Her companion nodded darkly. "It's not just about the fighting. This arena grants the elite their darkest desires, things money alone can't buy. Here, they can murder without a trace," he whispered. "They can test experimental drugs that vanish from the bloodstream before any autopsy. This is a playground for monsters who have grown bored with the pleasures of the mortal world. That is why the VIPs gamble their pride here," he continued. Cha clenched her fists, realizing her second brother was trying to dethrone the eldest in this hellhole. "The director chose his fighter carefully," the man added. "His recruiter knows the depths of this place better than anyone. That's why we have to make our move now," Cha declared. "But first, we need to see just how strong he really is. The next match will decide everything." While Seo Nu Kong began his warm-up, a pair of eyes watched the replay of Minho's fight on a dark monitor. A scientist in a pristine lab coat turned to the figure in the chair. "Director, all 16 VIPs have entered the facility." The director, his face hidden behind heavy bandages, smirked. "A full house. I expect magnificent results this year." He tapped the screen. "And the research. We have confirmed the manifestation of stage to sensory enhancement," the scientist reported. "Short-term side effects have been reduced by nearly 20%. However," he hesitated, "the regenerative factor we hoped for hasn't appeared in any test subject." The director's voice went cold. "Is it a failure?" "No, sir," the scientist said quickly, eyes gleaming with madness. "The drug's true potential is only just beginning to awaken. Our harvest is about to bloom." The scientist reveals a critical breakthrough. They have discovered a potent new side effect within the drugs. He is convinced that after a thorough examination, they will finally unlock the secrets of the regenerative ability. Realizing he is referring to the skin-strengthening mutation, The director demands to know when they can verify this terrifying power in a real combat scenario. The man replies with a sinister confidence, "It will happen very soon. The fighter for the next match in the main arena is already preparing for slaughter." Seo Nu Kang sits alone in the waiting room, silence hanging heavy in the air. Elsewhere, a coach helps a man stretch, preparing his muscles for the violence ahead. He advises Seo Nu to throw in the towel immediately if the pressure becomes too crushing. But the young man calmly states that won't happen. In fact, it shouldn't happen at all. Perplexed, the man asks if he feels even a shred of fear. Noting that he doesn't seem tense in the slightest, Seo Nu simply confirms the observation. He isn't afraid. Stunned by the response, the man concludes that Seo Nu is just another eccentric freak. A drone buzzes toward them while Amanda Gratch watches from her spot on the floor. The mechanical voice of the drone commands player Seo Nu Kang to enter the arena. As he stands, he wonders to himself, when exactly did he stop feeling fear? Since he was a child, he has survived catastrophic accidents that would have shattered anyone else's mind and body. Even in situations that reeked of certain death, he always emerged without a scratch. In the beginning, he would cry, trembling from the sheer shock of survival. But after a few years passed, the magnitude of the dangers ceased to matter. He became completely numb to everything. Bullies tried to provoke him, unsettled by a boy who never flinched. Yet, no matter how brutal their attempts, they could not force a reaction out of him. He was an unmoving mountain. In the end, the tables turned, and they were the ones terrified of his emptiness. The only thing he fears now is the safety of his family, not a gladiator like Kai. Ah-cha notes that the spectacle is finally beginning and demands to know exactly what kind of enhancement drug Kai has ingested. Min-ho Kim informs him that Kai has taken the skin-strengthening formula. Ah-cha scoffs, questioning how tough her skin helps in an offensive fight. Min-ho explains that it is far more than just defense. Kai's previous opponent had every inch of skin and muscle torn from his body in a gruesome display. Yuan is baffled, asking how hardened skin could possibly lead to an opponent being ripped apart so violently. Min-seol clarifies the horror. Kai's skin became impervious to human strength. It was so jagged and tough that it acted like a grater, shredding the opponent's flesh on contact until even the muscles were reduced to ribbons. He adds that the VIPs are in a frenzy to place their bets on the monster. Ah-cha debates who to back, knowing Kai is a professional killer with a super-powered hide. Ma Chiak displays the data on a tablet. As predicted, the money is flooding in for Kai, while the betting pool for Seo Nu remains at 0. But suddenly, his eyes widen. Someone has just dropped a staggering 100 million won on Seo Nu right before the window closed. Ah-cha loses his composure, demanding to know who would be insane enough to make that bet. High above in a private box, Sun Yun-cha observes the arena with a cold gaze. The man beside her questions her sanity, asking if she is truly certain about throwing away such a fortune. She replies coolly that one cannot expect high rewards without embracing high risks. To catch up to her brothers, she needs to gamble on the impossible. Sun Yun concludes that fate will decide. Either he brings her a massive return, or he is just another reckless tragedy waiting to happen. The drone announces the start of the bloodbath between Kai and Seo Nu Kang. Seo Nu drops into a fighting stance, his eyes burning with a determination to win at any cost. However, he notices something insulting. His opponent isn't even raising his guard. He asks Kai what he is doing and if he actually intends to fight. Kai sneers, replying that he is a noble warrior, not a low-life bully who beats up helpless children. Kai steps forward, arrogantly proposing a single blow using only 1/10 of his strength. He warns the kid not to get back up, then delivers a thundering kick to Seo Nu's torso. Seo Nu crashes to his knees. Ah-cha remarks that after a blow, with that much impact, the outcome of the match is already written in stone. The man with glasses leans over the railing, trembling, and mutters that he needs to flee the scene immediately. But Min-ho Kim observes something strange. The boy isn't screaming. There's no sound of agony, leaving the spectator confused. He realizes the truth. Kai had no intention of killing him yet, only instilling terror. The man asks if Kai is actually trying to show mercy to Seo Nu. Minho denies it. It's not mercy, it's vanity. Kai simply doesn't want to fight because he finds it beneath him. Kai believes his reputation would be tarnished if he exerted himself against a mere student. He is silently commanding Seonu to surrender and accept the loss. Kai whispers that the kid was supposed to pretend to be knocked out, not just kneel there. He continues, sneering that complaining won't change the power gap, but he's generous enough to give him one more chance to stay down. Seonu interrupts him mid-sentence. Kai is stunned as Seonu casually stands back up, asking if he's trying to win a debate or a fight. Kai decides to give him a taste of true hell so he can fake a knockout convincingly. Kai lunges with a devastating high kick aimed at Seonu Kang's head, but Seonu ducks underneath it, instantly striking his opponent's supporting leg. A gasp sweeps through the audience. Everyone is paralyzed with shock at the lightning-fast counterattack. Kai roars in frustration, yelling that he warned him to stay on the ground. He charges at Seonu, throwing a punch meant to crush bone. The young man leans back, his body moving like water. Kai is astonished the boy tilted his head back at an inhuman angle to dodge the strike. In a blur of motion, Seonu leaps into the air, flipping completely over Kai, and lands a disrespectful, resounding slap on the back of Kai's head. Acha watches, his jaw practically hitting the floor. Kai stammers that he was just giving him another chance to act the part. Seonu asks if lecturing him about chances isn't a bit rich for someone who was just brought to his knees by a high schooler. He looks down cold and sharp. If Kai is cowardly enough to kneel, then he isn't even worth the effort of a punch. Kai realizes that subtle acting won't save his life in this arena. He decides to force the boy's hand. He grips Seonu's shoulders, threatening to beat the fight out of him. The young man freezes, paralyzed by the overwhelming pressure. Kai announces he is unleashing 50% of his power. He drives a brutal headbutt straight into Seonu. Pain shoots through Kai's own skull, making him wonder if he used too much force. Suddenly, a foot rockets toward his chin. Seonu rides the momentum, slamming a kick into Kai's face. The impact forces the veteran fighter to stagger back as Seonu lands on his feet. Kai is baffled that the kid wasn't knocked cold by the headbutt. Seonu stumbles, shaking his head to clear his blurry vision. Kai rushes in to finish it with a punch. The blow barely grazes Seonu, yet the sheer wind pressure tears the boy's shirt apart. Mr. Kang watches in disbelief. He cannot comprehend how Seonu's shirt was shredded when Kai's fist didn't even make solid contact. Minho Kim warns that the assault isn't over. Kai slams an elbow into Seonu's back and raises his fist for a skull-crushing blow. Mr. Kang screams for him to stop, fearing the boy will be killed. Seonu Kang collapses, and Kai looms over him like a grim reaper. Mr. Kang shouts that this has gone too far, but Minho Kim notes that the situation defies all logic, leaving the older man confused. Minho wonders exactly what kind of creature Seonu is. Inside the ring, Kai stares at the fallen boy, sensing something is wrong. He realizes the truth. Before the elbow even connected, Seonu had slammed his own head into the ground to dodge the fatal impact. Kai questions if such a desperate move was intentional. He decides it was likely just panic, but he still wonders if the boy thinks his skull is made of steel. Suddenly, Seonu begins to rise. Kai is shocked to see him standing so soon, knowing the kid isn't on any performance enhancers. Mr. Kang watches, paralyzed by confusion. Minho observes grimly that Seonu is no ordinary child. He admits that something about the boy gives him chills. Seonu Kang settles into his stance, ready for round 2. Kai scoffs, telling him not to act tough. He claims he would have shown mercy if Seonu had just stayed down and faked a knockout, but the young warrior cuts him off, accusing Kai of mumbling. He challenges the veteran to prove his strength instead of just talking about it. Kai decides the only way to break the boy's spirit is to show him the absolute gap in their power. He throws his arms wide open. He invites Seonu to attack with everything he has, declaring he won't even defend himself. The boy's arrogance irritates him, but Kai sees it as an opportunity. He risked his life to become the ultimate combatant. He had destroyed every opponent in the professional ring, but mere sports were never enough for his hunger. He believed that to become a true warrior, he had to survive battles where death was on the line. So he hunted down the deadliest criminals and gang leaders, fighting them to evolve into the greatest weapon of war. That is why he refuses to take a child seriously. Kai goads him to strike, certain he will take 0 damage. Seonu lands a clean punch squarely on Kai's abdomen. The crowd leans in, watching intently. Kai grabs the boy's fist, sneering that the blow was pathetic. But suddenly, his expression shifts to shock. Seonu simply says he will hit him again. A second punch drives into the pit of Kai's stomach. The veteran stands stunned, unable to process the heavy impact. Seonu follows up with a high kick aimed at the head. Instinct takes over, and Kai blocks the strike with his arm. Annoyed by his own defensive reflex, Kai prepares a counter. Seonu senses the danger and realizes he must dodge immediately. Kai unleashes a devastating punch to the chest. The blow shreds Seonu's shirt and tears into the skin beneath. The young man is startled by the raw power. He scrambles back to create distance as Kai prepares his next assault. Kai asks how many more chances he needs to give. Seonu simply lets out a dark laugh. Kai stares, incredulous that the boy is laughing. Seonu asks if the veteran has already forgotten his own words. He rips the tatters of his shirt away, revealing a physique of pure muscle. The spectator with glasses gasps, wondering where a student hides such power. Seonu taunts Kai, asking why he defended himself if the attacks were so weak. Kai turns, forced to admit his hypocrisy. He acknowledges that Seonu is not just a victim dragged here for a show, but he warns the boy that he asked for this. Kai flares his aura, declaring he will now use 100% of his power. A thrill of excitement curls onto Seonu Kang's lips. The man in glasses thinks Seonu has lost his mind from fear, but Amanda observes that the boy actually looks ecstatic. The spectator panics, pointing out that their opponent is about to attack with lethal intent. Amanda explains that Seonu is happy because a monster like Kai has finally acknowledged him as a threat. The man in glasses cannot understand how someone could enjoy a death match. Amanda reveals that she used to feel the exact same way. She explains that opponents always underestimated her because she was a woman. But when they finally fought her with killing intent, the adrenaline made her heart pound like a drum. He observes her expression and tells her to chill out. Why is she grinning like that? Kim Min-ho breaks his silence, his voice low. He recognizes that twisted excitement all too well. Memories flood back. He was once just a scrawny weakling, despised by everyone. But in the heat of battle, dodging punches and landing that one perfect counter, that was the only time he felt truly alive. A dark smile plays on Kim Min-ho's lips. It was that look of terror the moment his bullies realized they were facing a true warrior. The man in glasses exhales, the truth finally dawning on him. Seonwoo isn't just fighting, he possesses the burning heart of a gladiator. Inside the arena, the atmosphere detonates. The two combatants collide like freight trains. Seonwoo seizes the initiative, launching the first strike. He drives a fist straight at Kai, but the giant casually intercepts it with a forearm block. Mr. Kang winces at the thunderous impact, assuming Kai was caught off guard. But Seonwoo knows better. Striking Kai feels like punching a wall of solid concrete. Kai grins, promising to return the favor tenfold. With a single, earth-shattering blow, he buries Seonwoo into the canvas. The entire arena trembles under the assault. Spectators gasp as the sheer kinetic force launches Seonwoo ragdolling into the air. Seonwoo hits the deck, gasping for oxygen. The glasses-wearing analyst thinks he rolled with the punch, but Kim Min-ho sees the grim reality. He didn't escape unscathed. Fresh blood blossoms on Seonwoo's back. A chilling, alien sensation creeps up his spine. Is this fear? Seonwoo stares down his enemy, questioning his own trembling hands. Is he actually terrified of this monster? Kai sneers, daring him to admit defeat. In his eyes, Seonwoo is nothing but a bug destined to be crushed. Shut your mouth, Seonwoo roars. He is not the only beast in this cage. Gritting his teeth, he vows to match Kai's brutality move for move. He launches a desperate offensive, but his strike slices through empty air. He hits the mat, exposed. My turn, Kai declares. Up in the stands, the analyst's eyes widen in horror. He is winding up for a lethal headbutt. Crack! Seonwoo beats him to the punch, smashing his own skull into Kai's. He screams his mantra again, "Anything you can do, I can do better." Xianwu collapses, body seizing up. Kai scoffs, calling the fight finished, dismissing Xianwu's flailing as amateurish brute force. But then a twisted grin spreads across Xianwu's face. Kai flinches, unnerved. Why is this broken boy smiling at death? Kai steps in to deliver the execution. But the analyst gasps. Steam is rising from Xianwu's body. His blood and sweat are literally evaporating from the intense heat. Xianwu whispers a confession. He always hated violence. Being forced to brawl made him feel inhuman, like a monster in human skin. But here, in this hell, he can't stop the euphoria from taking over. The urge to destroy is overwhelming. As Kai charges, Xianwu defies gravity, launching a savage kick straight to the giant's jaw. He doesn't stop there. Mid-flight, he latches onto Kai's skull. Kai's eyes bulge. The speed is impossible. Another thunderous headbutt in mid-air. Xianwu spins the massive fighter like a ragdoll and hurls him violently into the concrete wall. Kai watches him rise, trembling. That boy is no longer human. Xianwu leaps again, driving Kai's skull into the arena structure with sickening force. He locks his grip. "Got you," Xianwu hisses, before burying a fist deep into Kai's face. A barrage of strikes rains down. The final blow sends Kai skidding backward. The giant shakes his head, wondering what kind of combat stimulants this kid is on. Does this demon never tire? Kai roars, charging back into the fray and finally landing a heavy kick to Xianwu's ribs. Xianwu stumbles, balance gone. Kai misses the follow-up, and that mistake costs him dearly. Xianwu plants two devastating crosses on his nose. Kai reels, vision swimming. Bam! An uppercut from hell snaps his head back. The entire stadium falls into a stunned, deathly silence. Motionless, Mr. Kang wonders if the giant has bled out, but Amanda shakes her head grimly. That blood, it isn't Kai's. She points to the ring. The blood is pouring from Xianwu's own shattered knuckles. Xianwu is drunk on pain, feeling his body tearing itself apart from the inside out. Meanwhile, Cha Sunyan watches in awe. How is Kai still standing after that beating? The analyst adjusts his sunglasses. Kai's skin is living armor. Every time Xianwu hits him, he's just destroying his own hands. Amanda bites her lip. Is victory even possible against an invincible object? In the ring, Kai admits he's never known pain like this. But he sees the truth. Xianwu is at his limit, eyes barely open. Time to end it. Kai aims to snap Xianwu's legs like twigs, but at the last second, the young fighter checks the kick. Impossible. How can he still react? Xianwu counters with a straight right, but the impact flays the skin right off his hand. Pain is irrelevant now. Kai realizes this will only end when one of them is reduced to meat chunks. He charges. They clash in a symphony of violence. Xianwu can't feel his hands anymore. Is he even making a dent in this iron fortress? He's running on fumes. But Kai notices something terrifying. The kid's aim is getting better. He's landing flush to save his shattered hands. Suddenly, a strange tremor runs through Kai's fist. His strength is fading. Why? Kai decides to stop playing. He spots a fatal gap in Xianwu's guard. It is time to unleash the secret technique he has honed for 10 years. Kai winds up and delivers a devastating low kick. The impact lands dead center on Xianwu's leg. Kai screams that his opponent is finished and launches a follow-up strike. But Xianwu checks the kick with his own shin. The spectator with glasses freezes, realizing he just countered with pure bone. A sickening crack echoes through the arena. The young man's leg shatters on impact. From the sound alone, the crowd knows the bone has snapped. Xianwu grits his teeth, fighting through the blinding pain. He realizes his muscles are torn. He is paralyzed. Sensing the end, Kai lunges in for the kill. He roars that the fight is over, but his kick stops midair. Kai stares in confusion, unable to understand why his body won't obey. He collapses to his knees, wondering if this is some twisted nightmare. The entire audience watches the scene in stunned silence. Xianwu remains standing, a towering shadow over Kai's fallen body. A Cha turns to his aide, demanding to know what is happening. Mo Kim explains the dark truth. The skin-strengthening drug only accelerated the damage. Kai's bones absorbed every ounce of force, but the chemicals masked the pain until it was too late. Now, Kai's arms and legs are likely a roadmap of fractures. The referee drone descends, announcing that Kai is incapacitated. It declares Seo Nu Kong the winner, and he unleashes a roar of triumph. The man with glasses tears at his hair, screaming that Seo Nu refuses to fall like an undead zombie. Watching from above, Mo Kim narrows his eyes. This boy. Seo Nu might be hiding a monster inside him. Collapsed on the canvas, Seo Nu whispers a prayer to his mother to hold on just a little longer. Elsewhere, a bandaged figure demands to know if the boy is truly clean. An assistant confirms the records show zero doping, but they will verify everything after the first round. The shadowy figure decides to change tactics. First, they will uncover his identity through his parents. Meanwhile, a torrential storm batters the city hospital. Inside, Seo-Nu's mother keeps a vigil over her husband, whose life hangs by a thread and machines. The door creaks open, and she turns around. She warns that visiting hours are over, but two men in dark suits loom behind her. The woman trembles, asking who they are. Back at the arena, medics rush Seo-Nu away on a stretcher. Cha questions if the boy can even survive the next round with such severe injuries. Mo Kim states they will delay the verdict until the medical exam. He reveals his plan to administer a covert drug test during the procedure. Cha is stunned, while the assistant notes that surviving the second test would make Seo-Nu a legendary contender for the title. The executive asks if testing a player without consent is even permitted. The assistant smirks. It is merely a compatibility check, easily hidden. Cha presses further, asking what happens if the test fails. The reply is cold and absolute. Then the boy is trash, and they move to Plan B. Inside the medical bay, a high-tech treatment chamber hums to life. A figure in a hazmat suit approaches, a syringe glistening in hand. The assistant calculates that if they play their cards right, Seo-Nu could reach the top 16 with a single victory. Cha does the math. One more win secures a spot in the top 31. Factor in the betting pool, and he could be a gold mine. The assistant confirms this. However, Cha doubts the VIPs would place high bets on a broken fighter like Seo-Nu. The assistant reminds him that Seo-Nu has conquered 2 rounds on raw talent alone. No one has ever survived this tournament without enhancement. Reaching the top 62 without drugs will attract the whales. And one more win means a jackpot in betting revenue. Cha dismisses the optimism. Without the drugs, he won't win. He suggests picking a safer pawn. The assistant argues that Seo-Nu already knows the truth. He needs the drug to win and save his family. Cha is ruthless. If the boy's body is intolerant to the chemicals, he is to be discarded regardless of the outcome. The subordinate confirms he has already arranged to cut off the hospital payments and the security for Seo-Nu's parents in case of failure. The boss agrees, adding that Seo-Nu won't live long enough to hear the tragic news anyway. The assistant announces an agent is bringing the results. Cha chuckles, praising the efficiency of a secretary from the combat wing. He then asks the assistant why he risks his life for a game that isn't his. The man claims his neck is on the line too. Cha sneers. His true desire is to eliminate his brother and seize the Hosen Group throne. And the assistant confirms it. But the assistant reveals his own obsession is to find the ultimate human weapon within this arena, and he will risk everything for it. He adds that he would heavily sacrifice other lives to achieve it. Cha sighs, admitting he admires such twisted passion. Suddenly, an agent bursts in, warning them to clear the area. The assistant demands the drug test result. The agent hesitates, informing him that surprisingly, the boy had no reaction. The assistant stares in shock. The drugs, they don't work on Seo-Nu at all. Rage twists Uncha's face as he loses his temper. He barks orders to wipe out every shred of evidence, starting by cutting off all support for the target's parents. But a darker thought crosses his mind. Why complicate things? He sneers, deciding it would be much simpler to just eliminate them entirely. Meanwhile, silence fills the recovery room. Inside the high-tech chamber, Sian-Woo remains in a deep slumber, his body fighting to heal. Tension explodes in the combat wing's lobby. Dozens of fighters have gathered, the air thick with anticipation. Minho Kim scans the crowd, realizing the 62 winners have finally been selected. The man with glasses pushes up his frames, noting Sianwoo's absence immediately. His sharp eyes narrow as he deduces the truth. The boy is still in the recovery ward. Minho nods, reasoning that rest is crucial since the violence will pause until every fighter is ready. He agrees it's the perfect time for Sianwoo to recover. But his train of thought is derailed. Beside him, Amanda begins her warm-up stretches with intense focus. She doesn't mince words. Her voice is cold as she states that Sianwoo looked exhausted from the very beginning of the tournament. Minho Kim smirks, noting that battles here usually leave gruesome scars, pointing to his own history with Sianwoo. But then, the realization hits him. Both of them reach the top 62 without a single scratch on their bodies. His gaze shifts to the man with glasses. Minho's eyes lock onto the man's arm, a sense of unease creeping into his voice. No one expected a mutation like that, an extraordinary right arm that defies logic. The man smiles mysteriously, admitting even he didn't know his body was capable of such a terrifying transformation. Then there is Amanda. Her opponent made a fatal mistake. He refused to use his arms against a woman. The price for his arrogance. He was knocked out cold with a single, devastating blow. Minho shudders. To be honest, the knockout was so fast his eyes couldn't even track it. He still has no idea what technique she used to crush her enemy. Curiosity gets the better of him. Minho Kim leans in, asking if she would be willing to reveal the secret behind her victory. She turns, her glare sharp as a blade. Why would she reveal her hand? Amanda explains the brutal reality: he might be the very next opponent she has to destroy. Suddenly, Mainan bursts onto the scene. He demands to know why he's being ignored. Pumping his chest, he brags to the group that he was the very first fighter to secure a win. A booming voice echoes through the hall, congratulating the survivors for reaching the top 62. The real game is about to begin. The announcer explains the stakes. Defeat just one more opponent, and they earn a shot to skyrocket straight into the prestigious top 16. The greed in the room is palpable. Reach the top 31, and they will be ranked by the millions wagered on their heads. Survive the round of 16. A massive 5% of the total bets becomes their prize money. A roar erupts from the crowd. The fighters cheer wildly, their eyes burning with the promise of unimaginable wealth. The voice drives them into a frenzy, encouraging them to risk their very lives. Show the VIPs your power. Forget about injuries. And now, the moment of truth. The matchups are revealed. Far away at the Hosen Group headquarters, the conspiracy deepens. Unsha demands to know if they have a backup plan. Can they secure another candidate besides Sianwoo? Yusengo's assistant nods. The answer is yes. He slides a tablet across the desk. On the screen is a fighter who fits their dark purpose perfectly. Unsha asks for the name. The assistant reveals the chilling truth: it is Sianwoo's next opponent, Ryo-icha. Back in the lab, Sianwoo snaps awake. He stumbles out of the recovery chamber, panic gripping his heart as he screams for his mother. It wasn't a nightmare. The horror is real. He heard every word of their conversation. A figure in a hazmat suit mutters the kill order if Sianwoo doesn't react to the drugs. His parents are to be executed. Adrenaline floods his veins. Sianwoo understands one thing with crystal clarity. He must escape this hellhole immediately. In the director's office, the atmosphere is heavy. A doctor arrives, trembling. The director demands the results of Sianwoo's medical exam. The doctor swallows hard. The results aren't just normal. They are something extraordinary. He explains the anomaly. The boy possesses a trait that renders their enhancement drugs useless. Sianwoo's bone density is shocking 10 times higher than the average human. The director is stunned, finding the information hard to believe. But the doctor isn't finished. There's more. The director leans forward, demanding the rest. The boy's recovery speed defies medical science. The doctor displays the data, correcting his own terminology. It isn't just healing. The process resembles full biological regeneration. The director freezes. This new information changes everything. The doctor suggests that Sianwoo is the key. He could provide the blueprint for the regeneration drug they have been hunting for. Realizing the boy's immense value, the director asks the critical question. Have his parents been secured? The doctor flinches, offering a terrified apology. The director's face darkens, demanding the reason for this failure. The explanation comes out in a stammer. When the retrieval team arrived at the location, it was empty. Someone else had gotten to the parents first. Inside the locked room, Xianwu bolts upright. Fear clutches his chest. If he doesn't reach them now, his parents are doomed. But despair sets in. He scans the room frantically, realizing there isn't even a single vent for air to escape, let alone a human. Determination hardens his gaze. He throws himself at the door, searching for a hidden mechanism or an air duct. Suddenly, the lock clicks. He freezes in surprise as someone steps into the room. A young woman enters, eyeing him like a specimen. She comments that it's interesting to see him up close, introducing herself as Sun Young Cha. Xianwu snarls, warning her to get out of his way. Her next words stop him cold. She advises him not to waste time looking for his parents. Xianwu stands confused, his mind racing. Sun Young Cha smiles enigmatically, claiming she is taking very good care of them. Miles away in Unsha's office, the tension is suffocating. He stares at his assistant. What do you mean someone already got to Xianwu's parents? The man reports the impossible. They vanished without a trace. The only explanation is the combat wing. They must be involved. Unsha questions the motive. The assistant explains that the combat wing operates like a shadow, moving instantly to erase anything that could cause trouble for the tournament. Unsha leans back, a twisted smile forming. They didn't even have to get their hands dirty. Fate, it seems, is on their side today. He turns his focus to the next phase. Have you contacted the replacement fighter? The assistant assures him everything is in place. In the combat wing, VVIPs hold the keys to the kingdom. They can summon fighters to their private quarters and access anywhere except the forbidden zones. The assistant trembles, asking if he truly intends to walk straight toward those monsters. But Yu Cha confirms the order with a cold nod. However, a grim warning follows. Wandering the wing casually is a death sentence. Absolute safety exists only within the VVIP room. Once inside the recovery suite, Seong-Yin secures the lock with a heavy click. Seong-Nu corners her, rage flaring as he demands the truth about taking care of his parents. Seong-Yin raises a hand, ordering him to silence his voice if he wants them to live. She declares that fleeing now is futile. Seong-Nu smacks her hand away, his eyes burning with intensity as he demands an explanation. Seong-Yin reveals the chilling reality. Director Yoon is scrubbing the slate clean, erasing all evidence linking him to Seong-Nu, and his parents are the first loose ends to be cut. To make matters worse, the loan sharks he brutally crushed are hunting him down with a vengeance. She admits she came alone to forge a private alliance, claiming her goal is also to keep his parents breathing. He glares, asking who she really is and what she wants. Seong-Yin introduces herself, her gaze piercing. She points a finger directly at Seong-Nu's chest and drops the bombshell. She needs him. Confused, he asks what she means. Seong-Yin reveals her true status as one of the 16 elite VVIPs, and she is in desperate need of a champion to place her bets on. She explains that despite her youth, she was a major owner of the massive Hozon Group until very recently. To put it simply, she is the half-sister of his former employer, a scion of the same powerful bloodline. She admits she was ousted from the Hozon Group due to his schemes, but having already planned her exit with thriving businesses, the expulsion meant nothing to her. However, Seong-Yin's eyes narrow as she declares she will not allow her brothers to run her father's legacy into the ground. Seong-Nu interrupts, asking what this corporate war has to do with his parents' lives. She explains the tangled web she and her siblings remain locked in a spy war, and she has been tracking her second brother's every move. When she witnessed her brother going to extreme lengths just to recruit Seong-Nu, she investigated his parents to uncover the source of his interest. Seong-Yin realized Seong-Nu was a diamond in the rough, far more incredible than anticipated. She refuses to let her brother monopolize his extraordinary genes. Seong-Nu recoils, questioning the sudden mention of his genes. Seong-Yin cuts him off, warning that the specific details don't matter. What matters is that an army of enemies is closing in on his family. He asks what his move is if running is impossible. She locks eyes with him, guaranteeing there is only one path to salvation for him and his parents. Seonu asks what that single path is. Seong-yeon delivers the ultimatum he must win. She unveils her master plan. She will bet on him in the Combat Wing Championship. If he wins, her brothers will rot in prison, and the loan sharks will be silenced with mountains of cash. Seonu questions the validity of a promise made in the shadows. She smiles dangerously, explaining that in the combat wing, a broken oath is a capital offense punishable by immediate execution by the authorities. He challenges her, asking if she is truly willing to gamble her own life on his fists. Seong-yeon admits the risk is mutual. When the 16 finalists are selected, any fighter not chosen by a VIP is instantly disqualified and discarded. Seonu insists on proof of his parents' safety and a reason to trust the wealthy. She counters that electronic devices are banned inside, so she cannot show him a live feed. Because of the blackout, she offers him something more valuable than a video. Trust based on the fact that she shares his deepest secrets. She leans in, revealing she knows the buried truth of his parents' past and the origin of his monstrous physical abilities. Shocked, he demands to know the truth immediately. Suddenly, the door slides open. Seong-yeon reminds him that she is guarding his parents with her life, so escape is unnecessary. A drone buzzes into the room, signaling the end of their meeting. She reassures him one last time, telling him to clear his mind of worry. As she turns to leave, she commands him to simply stand by her side and claim victory. Meanwhile, deep in Dorm 10 of the combat wing, the atmosphere is tense. A fighter whistles, noting the prize money has skyrocketed. Glancing at the massive leaderboards, he wonders aloud why a beast like Seonu is ranked dead last. A younger fighter explains the logic. Seonu was stuck in the recovery room, and nobody throws money at damaged goods. The drone announces the return of player Seonu Kang. A man greets him, noting he looks far healthier than the rumors suggested. The door seals shut. The man comments that Seonu must have slept well. Seonu cuts to the chase, asking how the man won without taking a scratch. Seonu swallows his pride, explaining he must reach the top 16 or his family is finished. Desperation in his voice, he begs for knowledge, swearing to do whatever it takes. He bows his head, pleading for help. He fears he asked for too much. Suddenly, a woman steps forward, suggesting he needs a signature finishing move. Seonu repeats the phrase, confused. She explains that without a lethal finisher, dominating a fight in the combat wing is impossible. The fighter asks about his physical specialty. The elder Mr. Kang eyes Seonu's legs and suggests a bone-shattering calf kick using his iron shins. He remarks on the rarity of such precise leg control and speed. Flashing back to the duel with Kai, he notes how Seonu blocked a low kick, proof of a shin bone forged in iron. Demonstrating the technique, he reveals a terrifying truth about the move. The calf kick has evolved into a lethal weapon, capable of crumbling an opponent in a single strike. He challenges Seonu to replicate the devastating motion. The impact creates a shockwave that leaves the instructor stunned. A grin forms as he praises Seonu's monstrous talent. Suddenly, a thunderous boom from the ceiling shatters their conversation. The veteran fighter glances up, wary of the disturbance. In a distant chamber, rank 15, Ryo Icha unleashes Kudo strikes that shake the entire building's foundation. Back in the dorms, the war council continues. Yu Seong-go urges Seonu to master the calf kick to secure the prize money. But Mainan steps from the shadows, declaring him dead wrong. Seonu whips around, eyes narrowing at the sudden intrusion. Mainan scoffs, claiming the world already knows Seonu's true finisher isn't some fancy kick. He taps Seonu's forehead, revealing the ultimate weapon, the headbutt. He reminds them how Seonu tanked a Lethwei champion's skull bash multiple times. Mainan concludes that the fact Seonu kept fighting proves his skull is harder than diamonds. Yu Seong-go cuts in, voice grim. A headbutt is a double-edged sword that destroys both attacker and victim. Against the monsters of the combat ward, it's suicide. He warns that brain damage could kill Seonu in under 2 rounds. Mainan chuckles darkly. He asks if they didn't all sign their death warrants the moment they entered. This tournament, he warns that hesitation against the top rankers doesn't mean defeat, it means an instant execution. Mainan then drops the act, telling Yu Seong to save his worry. He isn't talking about Seonu, he's talking about his own upcoming nightmare. The massive screen flickers to life. Next bout, Min So-han vs. Yusik Park. Deep in the restricted zone, the director scrolls through a fighter's vitals on his tablet. He mutters that Min So-han's assimilation of the drug is nothing short of terrifying. Surrounded by bubbling containment tanks, the director gloats about the acquisition. A doctor approaches, and his superior remarks that he must be proud of his son. The doctor bows deeply, attributing every miracle to the director's grace. The doctor convinces himself there was no other path. His mind drifts back to the days before the combat ward, when he was just a weary father coming home late. Back then, a rare muscle-eating disease ravaged his son's body, leaving the boy unable to even stand. He felt the crushing weight of powerlessness, a simple salaryman doctor unable to save his own flesh and blood. Just as hope extinguished, a cryptic message arrived from a hospital director he had never met. He never imagined the summons would lead him through a crematorium and down a staircase into a hidden underworld. The hallway opened into a gallery of horrors, countless bodies suspended in containment tanks. He stepped into a new, twisted reality. Lists of renowned scientists and celebrities lined the walls, but he ignored the politics. His eyes locked onto the clinical trial results for a miracle drug. Tears streamed down his face as he read the data. The director materialized behind him, asking for his thoughts as the doctor pictured his dying son. The devil made his offer, submit the boy to the experiment, and he might live. He almost agreed instantly, but fear took over. He fled the facility, running back to his child. But at home, he found his son who had feigned wellness that morning, attempting to end his own life. Rescuing him, the doctor realized he had been blind to their hellish reality. The boy wept in his arms, begging for release. He implored his father to just let him die. The doctor crumbled, realizing he had run out of miracles. With no options left, he accepted the director's deal. He wonders now if that choice saved his son, or if it turned him into the monster he sees today. Back in the arena, a drone commands Min So-han to enter the killing floor. The young man steels himself. The gates grind open, revealing his opponent, Yusik Park. Yusik Park, a master of Krav Maga, radiates lethal intent. Min So-han, trained in Kali harness, shifts into a blade-less combat stance. The drone screeches the signal, let the slaughter begin. They explode into motion. Min So-han lashes out, striking his opponent's right arm with surgical precision. The crowd gasps at the unorthodox attack. Min-ho Kim notes that not even Yusik Park expected knife-fighting techniques in a bare-knuckle brawl. But the trap snaps shut. Yusik's arm muscles contract, clamping down on Min So-han's hand like a vice. Yusik Park crushes the trapped fingers, grinning savagely. He leans in, asking if the young man just made a fatal error getting this close. With his free hand, Min So unleashes a thunderous slap, the force of the blow barely missing his target's face. Min So-han stares, puzzled by the old man's resilience. Yusik Park grins, praising his opponent's skill before promising to return the favor twofold. Yusik declares he will unleash his specialty knife-fighting techniques. From the VIP box, Acha watches intently, wondering how this unknown fighter is holding his own against the 9th-ranked Min So. His assistant steps in, revealing the old man is a former bodyguard who mastered the deadly art of Krav Maga. Acha tilts his head, unfamiliar with the term. Krav Maga? The assistant explains its origins, a martial art forged by a Jewish soldier to protect the innocent. It is not for sport, it is a weapon of pure survival, blending the most lethal elements of every fighting style. He emphasizes that it reigns supreme in the suffocating pressure of close-quarters combat. Acha scoffs. If it is designed for protection, surely the attacks lack killing power. To him, the fighter seems like a poor choice. The assistant smirks, disagreeing. He poses a chilling question. What if the ultimate form of protection is simply eliminating the threat entirely? Yusik lunges toward Min So-han. Min So watches the incoming blow with boredom, deeming the old man's speed pathetic. Yusik's strike cuts through empty air. Min So-han effortlessly dodges. his voice dripping with mockery as he calls his opponent to slow to matter. Yusik attempts to block the counter, but Minsu is faster. His fingers strike like vipers, piercing the skin of the old man's temple. Desperate, Yusik swings wildly to create distance, but Minsu only steps back for a heartbeat. The predator charges again, determined to end the hunt. Minsu laughs, claiming that an unbalanced body is useless against him. Ignoring the insult, Yusik uses his arm to launch off the ground, roaring as he counterattacks. He throws his entire body weight at his opponent, but Minsu intercepts him mid-air, slamming him into the concrete with devastating force. Minsu-han absorbs the impact, unfazed. Yusik drives him against the wall, unleashing a flurry of blows, but Minsu just shakes his head. Useless. Minsu shoves him back, in a blur of motion. He strikes to lethal pressure points on the old man's chest. He sneers, impressed that Yusik is still standing, but wonders how long that grit will last. Minsu unleashes a storm of rapid-fire strikes, turning Yusik's body into a punching bag. Yusik Park gritted his teeth, forced to admit that the sheer speed of the assault was beyond his ability to track. Minsu ends the combo with a crushing blow to the spine. The brutality of the scene leaves the other spectators paralyzed in shock. Minho Kim trembles, realizing this is the terrifying power of a 9th-ranked player. Yet, covered in blood and broken bones, Yusik Park refuses to fall. Minsu mocks him, asking why he bothers clenching his fists. Has the Grand Master forgotten his knife skills? Yusik suddenly spreads his arms wide, leaving his chest completely exposed. Minsu narrows his eyes, suspecting a grapple trap. That cheap trick won't save you, Minsu declares, stepping forward with murderous intent. Time to die. Minsu strikes Yusik's back again. Suddenly, Yusik drives a heavy fist into his own stomach. Minho Kim gasps at the self-harm, but Amanda sees the truth. He wasn't trying to hurt himself. He was trying to catch a predator. She realizes Minsu's fingers were buried inside Yusik's flesh. The old man tightened his muscles to trap the weapon within his own body. "You crazy old lunatic," Minsu screams, trying to free his hand. Yusik Park seizes the opening, landing a catastrophic haymaker that sends Minsu smashing through a window. Blood dripping from his mouth, Yusik states grimly that the battle is not over. He needs one more hit. He glances at his right arm. The muscles are shredded, the limb barely functional. But he has no choice. He must gamble everything on one final attack. Roaring that he only needs one strike, he charges, but his legs betray him, and he stumbles mid-run. From the sidelines, Seo Nu Kang screams for his father to hold on. Yusik collapses, his vision blurring from massive blood loss. He can no longer lift his arm. "I'm sorry, son," he whispers. Then, his eyes snap open. No, he cannot give up now. He forces his broken body to obey one last command. Minsu-han emerges from the debris, revealing a terrifying secret. He is actually right-handed. With a cruel laugh, he drives a lethal strike toward Yusik's skull. Seonu's scream tears through the air. At the last second, Yusik raises his hand, blocking the strike by letting Minsu's fingers pierce straight through his own palm. Minsu sneers, congratulating the desperation. "But my fingers are longer," he gloats, driving them deeper to push through the hand and reach the brain. Yusik coughs up a fountain of blood and crumbles to the earth. Seonu cries out for his father. Minsu turns his gaze to the boy, shouting Seonu Kang's name with sadistic glee. "Watch closely," Minsu roars. "This old fool is going to die because of you." As Minsu prepares the execution strike, time seems to slow. A memory surfaces, Yusik holding his son, exhausted, saying he needs rest, while the boy begs for just a little more time. Yusik's inner voice trembles with regret. If only he had spent more moments like that with his son, perhaps their fate would have been different. Seonu watches, tears streaming, realizing this is the cost of the bond they never fully healed. The boy wonders if redemption is possible. In the void between life and death, Yusik finds his resolve. A father does not leave his son behind. "I will not die," Yusik vows silently. "I will not leave him." But reality is cruel. A drone hovers overhead, its mechanical voice announcing the match is over. Winner, Minsu-han. Minsu-han stomps on the defeated man's head, laughing maniacally at the thrill of the slaughter. Sionu snaps. With a primal scream, he leaps into the arena. He lands, standing between the monster and his father. Drones swarm the air, but Minho Kim notices something strange. The automated guns aren't firing at the intruder. He gambles on the system, assuming the drones won't open fire as long as blood isn't actually spilled. The two predators lock eyes, tension crackling across the distance. Sian Wukang roars, demanding the tyrant remove his filth from the victim's head. But Minsu just sneers, daring him to come and force it off himself. Rage takes over. Sianwu charges forward, screaming for the punk to back off. Minho Kim intercepts him instantly, shouting that they need to stop before they all get slaughtered. Suddenly, Meinan locks Sianwu in a chokehold from behind. Sianwu thrashes like a wild beast, screaming for him to let go. Meinan hisses in his ear he needs to survive long enough to actually use the skills he was taught. Sianwu ignores reason, demanding release. But Minho Kim steps in and delivers a precision knockout blow. "Take a nap, kid," Meinan whispers. Sianwu's consciousness begins to crumble. Darkness swallows his vision as he cries out for Yusiak one last time. A memory surfaces from the haze, Yusiak asking Sianwu a favor, to watch over his son if tragedy ever struck. He didn't just want a guardian. He hoped Sianwu would become a true friend to keep the boy from walking a dark path. Sianwu smirks in the memory, telling him that was obvious from the start. He adds that he still has a mountain of things to learn from Yusiak, so befriending his son is just a smart tactical move. It's the best way to steal more of the master's techniques. Yusiak laughs, grabbing him in a headlock and calling him a cheeky punk for trying to scheme even in a sentimental moment. Reality snaps back. Shield hands. Boot is still grinding Yusiak Park's face into the dirt. Around him, the resistance is broken. Sianwu, Minho, and Meinan lie unconscious. Chilhan surveys the carnage with cold eyes, commenting on their pathetic state. But then, Amanda Gratch steps into the fray. She tells him to get lost if he's satisfied with bullying Sianwu. She mocks him, asking if he's desperate for more love and attention from the boy. Chilhan glares, asking if she has a death wish. Amanda stands her ground, daring him to strike and trigger the drone executioners. She threatens to beat him to death herself if he tries anything. Chilhan finally lifts his boot off Yusiak, sneering that her time will come, and promises to kill every single one of them eventually. With a final glare, he turns and disappears into the shadows of the corridor. Amanda rushes to Yusiak Park, shaking him desperately. He's not dead. She screams, waving for the medical team to hurry. She examines his injuries and realizes a miracle occurred. His left hand. She whispers, it saved his life. He managed to use his hand to divert the fatal strike just millimeters from his heart. The medical team scrambles, rushing the battered fighter away on a stretcher. High above, Yuncha's assistant watches in horror, calling Minsu a literal monster. Yuncha is baffled. How can human fingers pierce flesh like spears? The assistant reveals the terrifying truth. Minsu's doping is unique. Most drugs just pump muscle mass for size. But Minsu, his formula drastically hardens the tendons, ligaments, and connective tissues around the bone. He concludes that in real combat, this biological steel is far more lethal than even Sianwu's reinforced skeleton. Yuncha's eyes light up. He wants to recruit him immediately. The assistant shakes his head. Minsu is the director's personal weapon, making him untouchable. He quickly pivots, reassuring Yuncha that the arena is full of talent, pointing toward the fighters for the next match. Yuncha raises a brow. You mean that female capoeira specialist? The assistant confirms it. Yuncha scoffs, asking if capoeira isn't just a type of dance. The assistant corrects him sharply. It looks like a dance, but it was never for entertainment. Its roots are soaked in blood, tracing back to African slaves transported to Brazil. To escape oppression, they developed a lethal martial art. They disguise it as a dance to deceive the guards watching their every move. He describes it as a martial art born of sorrow and pain, not joy. It became so dangerous that criminal gangs adopted it after Brazil's independence, forcing the government to ban it entirely. It is a tool of deception and death. The spotlight hits the arena. Amanda Gratch, ranked 19th and master of capoeira, is introduced. A drone blares overhead, announcing the combatants, have entered the killing floor. Her opponent steps forward, Hugo, ranked 10th, a mixed martial arts powerhouse. The system announces the start of the duel, Amanda versus Hugo. Amanda flows into her fighting stance, the Jenga rhythm taking over. She eyes Hugo. He isn't moving. Is he underestimating her? She refuses to wait, launching a lightning-fast kick to break his guard. Up in the VIP booth, Yunsha waves his hand. Enough about the girl. He focuses on Hugo, rank 10. He must be something special to hold that spot. The assistant explains Hugo's history: a mediocre MMA pro who found no glory until coming here. The drugs gave him a new gift, dynamic vision. They call him K10 seconds among the VIPs. The assistant notes, the bets are skyrocketing. Yunsha questions the nickname. The assistant drops the facts. He has won every single fight by knockout in under 10 seconds. Yunsha's jaw drops. That is incredible. The assistant adds that Hugo is a gambler's dream, finishing every slaughter without a single scratch on his body. The legend of the 10-second knockout has created a massive hype train around him. If he defends his title here, the money will pour in, and his ranking will catapult into the top 5 instantly. The atmosphere in the arena is suffocating as Hayakugo waits for the slaughter to commence. The drone screams the start of the match. The timer ticks to just 1 second. Hayaku's dynamic vision captures every frame of Amanda's movement. He thinks he sees it all. Instinctively, he raises his guard to block the strike, confident in his defense even without preparation. But his world suddenly spins. He stares blankly at the floor, confused why the ground is rushing to meet him. Reality crashes down. He has been floored in an instant. The timer freezes at exactly 10 seconds. Amanda towers over her defeated opponent, radiating absolute dominance. The drone declares Amanda the victor. She scoffs coldly. Some techniques exist beyond what the human eye can perceive. In the VIP box, Yunsha leaps to his feet. What the hell just happened? His assistant adjusts his glasses. Hayaku made a fatal error. He thought blocking one kick gave him an opening. Yunsha frowns, his eyes narrowed. Isn't that the basics of combat? You block, then you counterattack. Precisely, the assistant nods grimly. And that arrogance was exactly what Hayaku was thinking. A true knockout blow requires compression. You must coil your energy on one side like a spring, before releasing that explosive force into the target. If the first strike misses, there is no time to reload that power. The follow-up is usually weak, especially when airborne with no leverage. Without the ground to push off, there is no fulcrum to generate that kind of devastating force. But wasn't that exactly Amanda's situation? Yunsha argues. She was airborne, and her initial strike hit nothing but air. Correct. That is precisely why Hayaku dropped his guard to attack immediately. However, there is one critical variable Hayaku failed to calculate. Yunsha leans in. And that is, capoeira utilizes the entire body as a lever. Furthermore, Amanda has ingested a high-grade power drug. It didn't increase her bulk, but her muscle density is off the charts. In her current state, physics do not apply. Amanda can unleash catastrophic power and speed from any position. She has become a living weapon. There is simply no predicting what she is capable of now. Yunsha smirks. It seems this tournament still has some diamonds in the rough. The assistant sighs. Unfortunately, securing a meeting with her just became nearly impossible. Why is that? Because she annihilated Hayaku, the king of 10 seconds, in his own time frame. She has now inherited that legendary title, all the massive capital, and the VVIPs who back him. They will now flock to her like moths to a flame. Yunsha raises an eyebrow, his voice dripping with challenge. Are you telling me you can't handle a little competition? There's no need to rush, sir. The roster is deep. Yunsha asks, is the next contender arguably on the same level as the king of 10 seconds? The assistant checks his tablet. Indeed. This next match will be a spectacle. The fighter will have no choice but to unleash everything he has. Elsewhere, Minho Kim looks down. Finally awake, are we? Sian Wukang bolts upright, adrenaline spiking. What the hell? What's going on? Why am I here? He scans the room frantically. Where is Wusik? He freezes mid-sentence, memory hazy. Wait, what happened back there? Amanda leans against the doorframe, cool as ice. Minho nods. He's alive, She shrugs. I knew that. I could still feel the faint rhythm of his breathing. She turns her gaze to Minho. Your match is up next. Shouldn't you be warming up instead of babysitting? I know, Minho replies, his voice grim. My opponent. He might be the reason I entered this hellhole. His mind flashes back a promise made in the shadows. Asterisky will help you find the man who murdered your brother in the ring. Asterisk. Past Minho asks, how can you identify him? I don't even know his name. The broker replies, we know he entered the combat wing, and we know he is a former professional boxer. I will provide the dossier later, but rest assured, there aren't many ex-boxers lurking in that wing. Back in the arena, the crowd roars for Wanwoo Choi, rank 16, a boxing specialist. While the fighter enters, the assistant pulls up the file on the 5th-ranked monster. Ranked 5th is Lev, a master of Systema and a former Russian bodyguard. His roots trace back to the elite Spetsnaz special forces. Rumors say he didn't just protect his clients. He systematically eliminated anyone who dared to look at them wrong. But he was too efficient. He was investigated for excessive force after slaughtering 8 assailants single-handedly. His employer had no choice but to cut him loose. However, talent like that doesn't stay unemployed for long. A new patron hired him and scrubbed his identity clean. The man who offered this second chance is Michael Lee, the head of the infamous military contractor, Pawn. Yoon Cha scoffs. Without a connection of that caliber, a disgraced soldier would be worthless trash. Additionally, the assistant notes, after ingesting the stamina drug, his endurance is infinite. That unholy vitality is what propelled him into the top 5. Moving on to the 4th-ranked fighter, he has deep ties to Chairman Sang Soo Han of the nation's largest construction empire. Jeong Ho Go, rank 4, a specialist in combat taekwondo. He grew up idolizing his father, a legendary grandmaster. But somewhere along the line, Jeong Ho strayed onto a darker, bloodier path. Yoon Cha looks skeptical. Taekwondo, isn't that just a flashy sport made for Olympic points? Not quite, sir. The assistant pulls up data. There was a documentary that pit martial arts masters against one another to measure raw, destructive power. The censors didn't lie. Their kicks registered force between 900 and 1,500 pounds, enough to shatter bone like glass. However, the crowd gasps as the capoeira kick registers a crushing 1,900 pounds. But the test is far from over. Next up is the pride of national martial arts, Taekwondo. The censor screams under the impact, 2,300 pounds. The sheer destructive force leaves Won Cha completely dumbstruck. The assistant adjusts his glasses, noting that Kyung Ho is a grandmaster of combat Taekwondo. In terms of raw striking power, no one in this wing can even touch him. Moving down the list, he introduces the 3rd-ranked fighter. Meet Ryan, a chemical monstrosity sponsored directly by the president of CT Bio. His hunger for strength drove him to madness. Ryan volunteered for every forbidden experiment imaginable, even fusing reinforced steel directly into his skeleton. But power comes at a price. The cocktail of constant combat drugs has corroded his mind, leaving nothing but a mentally unstable killing machine. Sitting at rank 2 is Jerma, a notorious fugitive personally recruited by Dong Soo Park. Won Cha's jaw drops. He cannot believe a criminal of this caliber secured the 2nd spot. The assistant lowers his voice, admitting that this fighter is a ghost. His background is a void of darkness and redacted files. However, one terrifying fact is public knowledge. He is a pure psychopath who joined the tournament for one reason only: the ecstasy of murder without police interference. His technique is a blur of violence. Most who face him enter the afterlife before their brains even register that the fight has begun. Cold sweat runs down Won Cha's face. He shudders, whispering that these men aren't fighters, they are absolute monsters. The assistant shakes his head grimly. If those are monsters, then the number 1 ranked fighter is a calamity. He is the former champion. Desperate, Won Cha demands to know who sits on the throne. The answer arrives with a deafening crash. The heavy steel doors are ripped off their hinges by a towering giant. Terrified, Won Cha stammers, asking for the intruder's identity. The giant scratches his head, apologizing for his lack of control. This is K, a legendary Gurkha mercenary and the undisputed king of the rankings. Panic overtakes Won-cha as he screams for a handler. Instantly, security drones swarm the area, locking onto K with lethal intent. Suddenly, a cold voice cuts through the chaos, calling him a fool. Won-cha freezes. He knows that voice anywhere. It is his older brother. Executive Director Ik-hyun sneers, asking if his little brother truly thought he could win in this arena. Won-cha grits his teeth, reminding him of their wager and telling him to prepare for defeat. Ik-hyun laughs cruelly, calling him an idiot. Who in their right mind bets their executive position on a mere student? The insult lands like a slap. Won-cha clenches his fists, trembling with impotent rage. His brother issues a final warning: break the certified bet, and there will be no mercy. Wishing Won-cha luck with his child fighter, Ik-hyun turns and leaves, the monster K trailing behind him. Fury explodes in Won-cha's chest. He grabs his assistant by the collar, screaming for a solution and demanding they find a warrior capable of crushing K. Doubt creeps in. Is it too late? He frantically asks if the champion must inevitably come from the top 5 rankers. The assistant hesitates. While the odds favor the elite, he clarifies that in this brutal world, nothing is absolute. The combat drugs are volatile. Their unpredictable nature means a dark horse could emerge from the top 16, evolving into a god slayer mid-tournament. Metamorphosis takes time, he explains, but a fighter who adapts and evolves is exactly the weapon they need to secure victory. Hope flickers in Won-cha's eyes as he asks for candidates. The assistant reveals his hand. 5 names have already been flagged for potential greatness. The first is the lethal Ryo Icha, set to clash against the formidable Xian Wu. He also highlights the savage Amanda and the master of throws, Wu Gangju. But the most interesting prospects are about to collide in the very next match. To boxing underdogs with everything to prove, Min-ho Kim and Won-woo Choi. The atmosphere in the arena is electric. Min-ho Kim squares off against Won-woo Choi, eyes burning with intensity. He asks his opponent if he knows the name Min-sung Kim. Won-woo maintains his guard, a twisted grin on his face. He replies cryptically, asking how he could possibly not know that name. That answer snaps something inside Min-ho. He screams that he knows Won-woo met his brother, and he has sacrificed his entire life for this one clue. Exploding into action, Min-ho drives a fist straight into Won-woo's face. He demands answers, his voice raw with desperation. A second blow connects with the force of a cannonball, sending his opponent sailing across the ring. Won-woo coughs, spitting blood from the heavy impact. Min-ho gives him no respite. He grabs Won-woo by the collar, demanding the truth, before launching a devastating kick that smashes him violently against the concrete wall. Min-ho looms over him like a demon, repeating his question. But Won-woo, broken and bleeding on the floor, simply mutters that it is enough. Min-ho pauses, confused by the shift in tone. Slowly, unnaturally, Won-woo rises from the debris. He wipes the blood from his lip, explaining that he needed to take a beating to wake up the chemicals in his blood. Won-woo muses aloud about the levels of his speed drug. In a flash, Min-ho's punch hits nothing but air, and a lightning-fast kick slams into his skull. The hunter has become the prey. Won-woo launches a counteroffensive, weaving through attacks with impossible speed, taunting Min-ho to come back and die. Panic sets in. Min-ho realizes with horror that no matter how fast he moves, his opponent has no openings. The speed gap is insurmountable. Won-woo materializes right in front of him. Just as he confirms his theory, Min-ho lands a miracle punch, but Won-woo shrugs it off, declaring that was his maximum velocity. A ruthless hand clamps onto Min-ho's skull. A scream tears from his throat as he is hurled across the arena like a ragdoll, crashing painfully onto the mat. Won-woo stands tall, dusting himself off. He admits that taking the beating was risky, but the awakening effects of the drug are absolutely top tier. He stalks toward the fallen hero. He orders Min-ho to stay down so the ref can call the match, chillingly concluding that if he persists, he will have no choice but to slaughter him. As darkness closes in, a memory flashes in Min-ho's mind. His brother's voice cuts through the pain when you think it is all over. Take one last, deep breath. His brother's memory offered one final ultimatum. Min-ho's heart begins to hammer against his ribs like a war drum. Wonu Choi desperately leaps back to evade the sudden onslaught. Minho lands with devastating force, cracking the bedrock beneath his feet. Wonu Choi watches in horror, wondering if this monster only grows stronger with every hit he takes. Without a second of hesitation, Minho rushes forward with a punch carrying the weight of death. Wonu realizes he must dodge at absolute maximum speed to survive. He throws himself to the side, praying to escape the blast zone. But Minho intercepts him in midair with a precision strike. Wonu realizes too late there is nowhere to run. Minho demands to know why he murdered his brother. Then, his fist connects violently. The impact buries Wonu Choi into the arena floor, shattering the concrete completely. High above in the observation deck, the director of the combat wing stares in awe. He reveals that Minho has triggered the second transformation. Lying broken in the crater, Wonu Choi coughs up blood. Minho Kim looms over him and asks for the final time why he killed his brother. Wonu confirms the truth Mong was indeed murdered. Minho Kim's eyes narrow as he questions how Wonu knows about his brother if he isn't the killer. Wonu coughs out a reply, stating that any boxer worth their salt would know the legendary champion, who held the world record for title defenses. Minho demands a name who would commit such an atrocity. Wonu starts to explain about a certain addict who hunts boxing champions, but his eyes roll back before he can finish. Minho screams for him to speak the name before the darkness takes him, but the drone overhead announces that Wonu Choi is unable to continue. The match concludes with Minho Kim's absolute victory, while a notification pings on screen showing the betting pool has skyrocketed. Watching intently on a tablet, Cha Ayin comments that this rookie, Minho, is nothing short of incredible. The director's assistant notes that Minho underwent a second transformation without any enhancement. Drugs, the director smiles, stating the results of his experiments are finally manifesting. He adds a caveat, however, although these subjects are powerful, they are not yet at the level of the legend. He refers to the first transcendent from 20 years ago, noting that some subjects are only reaching 80% of that monster's transformation. The director explains they have been using the first transcendent's genes as a base ever since he vanished. He stares into the void, lamenting the disappearance of his greatest creation. Meanwhile, in the training facility, Seo Nu Kang kicks a heavy door open with explosive force. Seo Nu Kang pushes his body past the breaking point. Mainan approaches, watching the madness, and asks why he doesn't rest for a moment. He questions if Seo Nu is trying to destroy the entire facility. Mainan warns him that if he maintains this suicidal pace, he will collapse before the match even begins. Seo Nu grits his teeth, stating that he needs to become as strong as the monsters inhabiting this hell. He recalls the words of Yusik Park, who explained that muscles pushed to their absolute limit recover stronger than before, provided they get adequate sleep. Yusik Park had advised him to split his day, alternating between training to failure and getting deep sleep twice within 24 hours. By following that rhythm, he could theoretically get stronger twice as fast as any normal human. But Yusik also warned this would require a godlike recovery ability, exactly like the one Seo Nu possesses. Back in the present, Seo Nu pants and declares that twice a day isn't enough. Mainan asks if he intends to sleep yet again. Seo Nu ignores him and begins to unstrap the heavy weights from his ankles. Next, he drops an even heavier set of iron weights onto the floor. Mainan yells that he told him to be prepared to die, not to actually kill himself. Seo Nu ignores the warning and enters a recovery pod. He thinks to himself that this is round 3, placing all his faith in his supernatural recovery speed. Mainan shakes his head, commenting that the kid trains intensely 3 times a day and expects to recover with just 3 naps. A smile creeps onto his face. He considers that if Seo Nu actually succeeds, things are about to get very interesting around here. A drone approaches and instructs Mainan to enter the main arena. He replies casually, hoping fate has sent him a worthy opponent this time. Wu Gangju, a massive judo fighter, lands hard in the arena. From the VIP box, Cha Ayin asks if this is one of the top 5 candidates he was briefed on. Cha Ayin's assistant explains that Wu Gangju gained extraordinary grip strength thanks to a specific enhancement drug. He continues, detailing that Wu's grip can crush muscle and bone alike, shattering an opponent's will to fight. But the real danger lies in his judo mastery, which allows him to pulverize the bones of anyone he slams into the ground. Cha-Yin asks about Wu Gangju's opponent, Mainan. Seeing he is ranked 45th, he comments that the man is likely fodder not worth their attention. The assistant replies that he has zero data on Mainan, leaving Cha-Yin visibly surprised. He explains that Mainan was recruited directly by the combat wing with no background check on his martial arts, adding that the effect of Menon's drug remains a mystery. In the center of the arena, Mainan licks his own arm with a feral look in his eyes as his name is announced. Wu Gangju is introduced as the 15th ranked fighter and a master judo practitioner. The fight begins. Wu Gangju states there is no need to drag this out and suggests they end it with a single blow. Mainan effortlessly dodges his opening attack and simply replies with a chilling, "Sure." He instantly appears behind Wu Gangju, whispering that his back is wide open. But Wu Gangju suddenly grabs him and declares 1 point. Wu Gangju attempts to slam Mainan, and the ground shatters on impact. But when the dust clears, it is Wu Gangju hanging limp from the arena wall. Cha-Yin screams in disbelief. The assistant stammers, admitting he knew Mainan was good, but he never expected the fight to end in the blink of an eye. The drone's mechanical voice cuts through the silence. The match is over. Wu Gang is completely incapacitated. His unconscious body hits the floor with a heavy, final thud. Ma Nan is declared the victor. Watching from above, Director Cha-Yin demands answers, his voice dripping with shock. What the hell just happened to Wu Gang? His assistant stammers, terrified. He has no explanation. An anomaly like this has never occurred in the history of the arena. Sprawled on the floor, Ma Nan grins like a maniac, wondering if Xianyu is about to wake up, and if he's well done or burnt to a crisp. Meanwhile, the hiss of the recovery capsule signals an awakening. Xianyu's eyes open. Did the training work? It doesn't matter. He forces himself to stand, knowing that success or failure, the only path forward is through the fire. But doubt gnaws at him. Is his mother actually safe? And that woman who warned him? Can he really trust a single word she says? He needs answers, and he needs them from that bastard scout. Right on cue, a drone descends, flashing an urgent notification the scout is summoning him. Inside the office, Director Ch's assistant orders him to remove the blindfold, a smug excitement in his voice as he welcomes Xianyu back to the land of the living. Xianyu snaps. He lunges, seizing the man by the collar and screaming, "You bastard!" The scout warns him to calm down. Death here yields nothing, but Xianyu snarls back. He has nothing left to lose. His grip tightens, his eyes burning with fury. "Tell me right now, do you know where my parents are?" The assistant doesn't flinch. "Of course I do," he replies smoothly, claiming he is personally ensuring their safety at this very moment. "Don't lie to me," Xianyu roars. He reveals he overheard the conversation in the recovery room, the order to dispose of his parents. The assistant sighs, admitting the VIP indeed gave that order, but he claims he lied to the VIP, reporting Xianyu's parents as missing to keep them safe under his own watch. Shoving Xianyu's hand away, the man straightens his suit. He stares Xianyu in the eye. He has already bet his entire life and career on this gamble. He has gone all in on Xianyu. If the boy succeeds, the VVIP will have no choice but to respect the results and trust his judgment. Xianyu starts to mention the woman's warning, but the assistant cuts him off. He questions the logic. Does Xianyu really think an enemy agent would just casually reveal the truth in a recovery room? He points out the suspicious timing. Xianyu accidentally heard about his parents' death immediately after waking up, and right after Seo Yun paid him a visit. The assistant leans in, his voice dropping. "Do you honestly believe that was just a coincidence?" He claims everything Seo Yun says is poison. There's a reason her own father exiled her from the company, to protect his sons from her manipulation. Xianyu calls him a fool, insisting the woman knew personal details. The assistant counters coldly, "And what proof did she give you?" Xianyu freezes. "She had none." "Nothing. I thought so." The man smirks. "Then, how about this?" He rolls up his sleeve to reveal ink on his skin. A message reads, "Son, I'm okay. Don't worry about me." Xianyu's breath catches it's his mother's handwriting. The assistant points to the fresh date included, but Xianyu grits his teeth, arguing that handwriting can be forged. "Believe what you want," the assistant says, "but the choice is yours." He then begins to outline his strategy. He explains that to reignite the boss's interest in Xianyu, he had to orchestrate a specific scenario. He deliberately exaggerated the next opponent's skills to force the higher-ups to pay attention. If Xianyu wins here, Director Chi's hands are tied. Win this fight, and all his problems vanish. Xianyu doesn't hesitate. He demands to know who he has to crush. The arena lights flare as his opponent steps forward. Ryo-icha has arrived. The assistant continues his persuasion, pointing out that Seo-yun isn't here for the trophy. Her only goal is to burn her brother's plans to the ground. He explains that she has no reason to save Xianyu's parents. The warning is clear. If Xianyu doesn't align with the assistant, his parents are doomed. Xianyu stands in the middle of the storm, his mind racing. Who's the liar? Who can he actually trust? But there's no time for doubt. If he loses to Ryo-icha here, the truth won't matter because he'll have lost everything. From his VIP box, Woo-sung-go swirls his drink, musing that if Xianyu gets eliminated, the look on Seo-yun's face will be a masterpiece. Seo-yun-cha doesn't look at him. We'll see who's smiling when the blood dries. Down below, Ryo-icha drops into a lethal fighting stance. Xianyu scans his opponent. Based on that stance, a calf kick is the weakness. It's his best opening against a striker like this. He moves in for the kill, but Ryo is faster. He launches a kick before Xianyu can strike. Xianyu tries to dodge and counter, but it's a trap. Ryo grabs his leg. Bam! Ryo slams him into the mat and rains down punches. He aims a finishing blow, but Xianyu desperately rolls away, barely escaping the impact crater. Woo-sung-go's eyes widen. Ground techniques. He thought this guy was purely a striker. His assistant corrects him. Ryo-icha has no limits. He explains that Ryo practices Kyudo, a brutal hybrid martial art that integrates throws and joint locks. But it gets worse. Kyudo allows headbutts and even groin strikes, techniques that traditionalists consider dirty and unfair. The assistant shudders. Facing Ryo in close quarters isn't a fight, it's hell on earth. They use every weapon the human body possesses. Back in the arena, the fighters reset. Ryo-icha studies his prey, searching for fear. But Xianyu isn't trembling. His eyes are dead calm. Xianyu throws a heavy punch. Ryo weaves effortlessly and slams a devastating counter kick straight into Xianyu's ribs. The impact sends Xianyu crashing to the floor. Woo-sung-go leans back, satisfied. It's over. The kid is finished, but Ryo freezes, looking down at his fallen opponent. A chill runs down his spine. Why? Why is Xianyu smiling? Lying on the cold ground, Xianyu offers his opponent nothing but a chilling smile. Enraged, Ryo charges forward, roaring that he will wipe that grin off his face permanently. Xianyu clings to him like a burr, prompting a scoff from his opponent. Ryo warns that his arsenal goes beyond simple strikes and attempts to grapple. But Xianyu sinks his teeth deep into Ryo's thigh. "You crazy bastard!" Ryo screams, driving a brutal elbow into Xianyu's exposed back. He demands to know if Xianyu is some kind of rabid animal. Slowly, Xianyu lifts his head, his eyes burning with a feral glare. Ryo answers that look with a devastating kick to the face. The impact is so severe it drags Xianyu's body across the rough arena floor. Ryo pauses, wondering if he let his temper get the best of him. Glancing at the bleeding bite mark on his thigh, he realizes his stance was weak because of the pain. Ryo questions if he is fighting a human or a literal beast. Watching from the sidelines, Woo-sung-go gasps in shock, demanding to know what the hell is happening. His assistant notes grimly that Xianyu is the only fighter here unbound by the shackles of rules. Xianyu rises and stalks toward Ryo again. Ryo scoffs, asking if he thinks the same trick will work twice, wary of another bite to the leg. Ryo prepares to crush him, vowing not to fall for it again. But instead of biting, Xianyu launches a lightning-fast kick straight to Ryo's skull. Woo-sung-go instantly recognizes the fluid movement as a capoeira technique. The scene shifts back to the past. where Seonu asks Amanda to use her deadliest capoeira moves on him. He points to himself, confirming that he wants to feel the full force of the martial art. Amanda looks skeptical, asking if he is underestimating the lethal power of capoeira. Suddenly, she flows into motion, snapping a high kick toward his head. Seonu hits the mat hard. Looming over him, Amanda asks if he has realized his terrifying talent, the ability to perfectly copy any technique that hits him. Back in the blood-soaked present, that borrowed kick connects violently with Ryo's face. Balancing on a single hand, Seonu launches himself upward. Yuseongo screams that it was a grounded kick delivered straight to the jaw. Ryo manages to catch the leg, bewildered by how a human can move with such fluidity. But Seonu pivots, slamming another kick into Ryo's head with his free leg. The force sends Ryo sailing through the air before he crashes hard onto the concrete. Relentless, Seonu advances on his fallen prey. Seonu marvels that his body is moving exactly as he commands. One more calf kick should finish this. Ryo staggers up, forcing himself into a fighting stance. He admits he underestimated Seonu's chaotic style. But now, the gloves are off. He will treat Seonu like a beast that needs to be hunted down. Ryo explodes forward. Seonu's eyes widen, shocked by the sudden, terrifying increase in his opponent's speed. Seonu prepares to weave and counter, but Ryo smashes him with a vicious headbutt. Seonu stumbles back, his equilibrium rattled by the unexpected blow. Ryo follows up with a sledgehammer punch to the gut. Agony ripples through Seonu, but he grits his teeth, forcing himself to stay focused. Ryo grabs him by the collar, snarling that he won't have any functioning organs left when this is over. He unleashes a brutal barrage of body shots. Determined to end it, Ryo wins up and drives a final, bone-crushing kick into Seonu's torso. Looking down at the motionless body, Ryo decides the boy is unconscious. The hunt is over. Yuseongo cheers wildly, shouting that Seonu and Seo-yun are finished. But Seo-yun remains calm, noting it isn't over yet. Suddenly, Seonu's hand shoots up, seizing Ryo's wrist. Ryo sneers that waking up won't save him, but before he can strike, Seonu smashes him with a headbutt of his own. Stunned, Ryo wonders if this kid practiced headbutts too. Seonu doesn't answer, he just keeps moving forward. Ryo thinks his opponent is moving less like a beast and more like a monster now. Still, he is confident those body shots destroyed Seonu's internal organs. He assumes it must be the adrenaline or drugs keeping Seonu moving. He tells himself he only needs to block one attack to win as Seonu lunges. Ryo catches the kick. He roars in triumph, thinking he has won. But Seonu suddenly rips a chunk of fabric from his own pants. He flings the cloth over Ryo's face. Ryo screams that he is blind. Seizing the moment, Seonu unleashes hell on his sightless opponent. Ryo realizes he can't dodge. He decides to tank the hit and counter. Seonu's kick shatters Ryo's leg, but as they fall, Ryo manages to snap a kick into Seonu's leg as well. Yuseongo screams that the leg is completely broken. Seonu grabs him again. Ryo is terrified, wondering how this kid can still move. He grimly realizes this next exchange will be the end for both of them. Seonu delivers one final, devastating kick to Ryo's remaining good leg. Both fighters collapse to the arena floor in a heap of broken limbs. The loudspeaker crackles. Ryo Icha is unable to continue. The winner of this brutal death match is Seonu Kang. Yuseongo is practically tearing his hair out, but Seo-yun smiles, noting that this unyielding spirit is exactly why she chose him. Yuseongo points a shaking finger at the monitor, arguing that Seonu is also out cold. He questions if they shouldn't both be disqualified. His assistant shakes his head. He clarifies that Seonu isn't knocked out. He is simply sleeping from exhaustion. Seo-yun sighs, stating that now is the worst possible time for a nap. She glances at the screen, confirming her fears. Nobody is betting on him. Her assistant explains the grim reality. No one bets on a broken fighter, and the top 16 slots are decided strictly by the money wagered. He reveals that Seonu is currently in dead last. He warns that if the top 16 are announced before Seonu wakes up, he won't get to choose a VVIP, suggesting she start looking for a new champion immediately. Sun Sha turned to her assistant, her eyes cold and calculating. She demanded to know exactly how much liquid capital was sitting in her accounts, catching her aide completely off guard. If the world wouldn't bet on him, she would force fate's hand. Sun Sha declared that she would personally drag him to the summit, using her fortune as the ladder. Her assistant panicked, fearing total bankruptcy, but she silenced him with a sharp glare. The time for caution was over. The operation began now. High above, a drone descended with an ominous hum. It announced an urgent briefing, summoning the 31 survivors who had clawed their way through the previous bloodbath. A swarm of mechanical eyes buzzed over the battered fighters in the pit. Minho Kim cast a worried glance at Seonu, who remained collapsed on the cold concrete. Anxiety gnawed at him. Minho hesitated, wondering if he should shake his comrade awake before the briefing started, or let him rest for a few precious seconds more. A massive screen flickered to life, looming over the arena. The shadowed figure welcomed the 31 victors and the 16 elites watching from the shadows, spotting Sun Sha in her luxury suite. The rules were twisted but simple. The figure announced that only the top 16 fighters would advance, and their ranking depended entirely on the cash piled on their heads. Tension spiked as a countdown timer appeared. 30 seconds. That was all the time remaining to place final bets and alter the course of destiny. Sun Sha didn't blink. She demanded the exact gap between Seonu's current pot and the fighter. Clinging to the 16th spot, the assistant revealed a gap of 2 billion won, a gap that was widening by the second. Without flinching, Sun Sha commanded him to dump her entire liquid fortune on Seonu right this instant. Panic seized the aide. He warned her that 4 billion won was on the line, a fortune that would vanish into thin air if Seonu failed to make the cut. He begged her to abandon the unconscious fighter and back a safer horse. But Sun Sha's resolve was iron. She calmly repeated her order to bet everything. Desperate, he questioned her sanity, asking why she would go this far. Sun Sha whipped around, her eyes blazing, and screamed at him to place the damn wager. The timer hit 0. The betting window slammed shut. Silence descended on the private box as they waited for the judgment of the system. The transfer was complete. The assistant trembled, reminding her of the fortune she had already burned to keep her brothers in check. Why risk total ruin now? Sun Sha ignored his trembling. She only had one question on her mind, asking what the final ranking was. The assistant explained that the numbers had gone dark during the countdown. They were flying blind until the official reveal. The digital figure returned, voice booming across the arena. The time for secrets was over. It was time to unveil the new hierarchy, starting with the top 5 elites. Names flashed across the screen in blazing letters. Cam, Ryan, Gyuho, Gola, and Tim Ma stood as the untouchable kings of the arena. Minho Kim stared at the list, shock rippling through him. He realized with a sinking feeling that several powerhouse boxers were still in the pool. The atmosphere tightened. The announcer prepared to drop the next batch of names. The fighters hovering in the middle of the pack. Wu Gangju, Amanda Groh, Yusian, Kenda, and Meinan took the 6th through 10th slots. Seeing a monster like Amanda at 7th, dread filled Minho's heart. The tension was suffocating. The announcer moved to the danger zone, revealing the names teetering on the edge of elimination. Miguel, Bishop, Sunbum, Carl, and Ricardo filled ranks 11 through 15. In the private box, the assistant's face went pale. There was only one slot left. The digital figure paused for dramatic effect. The 16th fighter had secured a staggering total bet of 4.6 billion won. He was described as a legend of the streets. The screen flashed the image of Bancho Gu, the final survivor to make the cut. Sun Sha's assistant stared in horror. The gamble had failed. The realization crashed down on him like a physical blow.